Good morning. This is Merlina McCullough, and we are on Zoom 92, and this is March 8th, 2025. There's Debbie. Good morning,
Morning,
Debbie.
good morning, doctor.
Yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna try to choose another
Sure.
background, so bear with me.
Mhm.
Debbie, can you go ahead and talk to may I make you my co-host today? In that way.
Sure, doctor. Sure, doctor.
So you can get the people in. Okay, well, I'm messing around here.
Sure.
Let me find you. Oh, there you are. Do you make host? Okay, there we go. Okay, now you're host. So if you don't mind to let people in while I'm doing something here.
Hi, Doc. Good morning po dyan.
Morning, everybody. I'm having Debbie let everybody in, so while I'm trying to find a good background here. It's nice to have different back. It's nice to have different background every time.
Mhm.
Anyway, can you see me? Can you see me now, Debbie?
No, we can't see you, doc.
You
Only
cannot?
your background. Yeah,
Just my
only
background, but
your
not me?
background. Yes, doc.
I
Yes,
wonder what
doctor. You're
happened.
not in the background. Mhm.
I wonder what happened. I'll figure it out. Let me see. Hmm. Okay, let me see. You know what? I think it might be my computer messing around. Oh, yeah, that's why it's putting it in my camera in my phone. I'm gonna turn this phone off. Too much technology here.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see if we can figure it out now. Okay, Merlina's. Can you see me now? Let me see. Okay, now it's dark now, huh?
And
Um,
then still your background, doctor.
just my background and not me, huh? Let me see,
Yeah.
blur,
Mhm.
blur. I wonder what's going on. Use video. Hmm. Still not having technical
No,
problems here. I wonder if I just do not use anything. Marlena's HD camera. Let me see. There's a FaceTime. There's three different.
Oh,
Okay.
there you are.
Okay,
Mhm.
there you go. So I
Mhm.
think there's too many options here. So I'm gonna go back to the background again. I have to go to blur because I don't know what the deal is. Let me see. Okay, that's better. Um, anyway, good morning, everyone. This is March 8th, 2022, and this will be video number 92. And so Debbie is my co-host, so thank you so much for doing that. And you have already have a few people in. That's awesome. And um, I guess I want to say, Albert, thanks for coming back. I remembered Albert. John, yay, John. Thank you for coming back in. I know it's still early. Um, so John is gonna be it's gonna be daylight saving, so you're gonna have to set your time forward. Think fall, no, wait a minute. Fall, fall back and spring forward. So you have to do it forward. Yeah, you're right, Debbie, right? So at midnight tonight, you're gonna have to set it here in America. Do you do anything in the Philippines or not? John may be able to answer this. John, do we do any daylight saving stuff in the Philippines or no?
Yes, Doc. We
You
usually
do?
have the daylight saving time in the Philippines, usually around October, November, around that.
Really? But see,
Yes.
we do it twice in here. We do it twice in America.
Yeah,
So we do it in the fall and in the spring. But see, that's the thing. I don't even remember ever to have to do my
there are
do
actually
my
no changes regarding with that time like we do here in the US. It's just that they are changing the school hours.
Okay. So it's just school that's being affected. Maybe
Yes.
that's why I don't know. I don't know why I don't remember that for some reason. Did they start it like after 87? Or has it always been like that? Because I left in 87.
I think they started around 90s though.
That's why. That's why I said I either I lost my mind or I just don't remember, but because I don't remember that at all, you know. So yeah, so in the 90s. Okay, thank you for saying that, for reminding. Let me see who else is here. We got Julie. Julie, you're new. I've never seen your last name before. And Josh, Maria, Benanders, you're new too, right? We got some new folks today. Vivian. So any of you say hi. John is already here in America. Deb is already here in America, right, Deb? What state are you in?
California, ma'am.
California. She's in California out west. What time is it in California, Debbie?
5 in the morning. But I'm
5 in the morning.
committed
Thank you
to
for waking
learning from
up.
you.
Your
Yeah,
husband may be like, "What? You waking up that early?" Thank you so much for your sacrifice for that. But
of course, of course.
this morning I was like, should I do it? Because I've got a cold again. So I said, should I do it? I don't want to cancel because some people are, coming in for the first time. So, well, I'm glad I didn't cancel. So anyway, do you have anything new for us, Debbie, before we start saying hi to everybody? Anything you want to remind everyone or share with everyone?
Well, I think it's just important that you make the most out of what you can learn. Make sure that you will maximize having doctor here around, and any questions you can get. Most Filipinos, well, correct me if I'm wrong, we're mostly shy and be too aggressive on giving questions or taking others' time. But make the most out of
Yeah.
it and just
Thank you.
learn,
Thank you.
take notes. Yeah,
Yep, no
you can.
no shyness around here. I was
Yeah,
never a
yeah.
shy person.
Mm-hmm.
When I was little, my mom would send me I was a third grader and I had this big basket of snacks. And my mom would send me to the offices of where dad worked because my mom ran the cafeteria or we owned it. So I would be a third grader selling stuff. And they would always like give me extra, peso or whatever. I was so happy because they said, "Oh my God, you're so little and you're not shy." And I'm like, "Nope." I was never shy. I don't ever remember being shy. So, and I think that's, whenever our kids are growing up here in Arkansas, I've always kind of, wanting them to develop interpersonal skills where they're not worried about people, I could see Jet could have been shy because he's a very quiet person like my husband, our son Jet, who's 26. But Stephanie's kind of got my personality. So she's never shy, but I've always like, okay, go to the store and I wait here in the car and go in and pay for this or go get us some, whatever candy. I would ask them to do that so that they will be independent and they have to talk to people. So I've always done that. I don't know if you do that to your kids, but if you are not doing that, do it. Because to me, that's like a little training for them, because in our schools, sometimes we don't have the speaking and listening address. Like a lot of times in our schools, teachers are doing all the talking, and you're not having the speaking and listening unless you are having students like do presentations or something. So it's always a good idea to give them opportunities to talk. So if you agree with me, thumbs up. See, that's a formative assessment, guys. You always try to get your students to be involved. I don't see any thumbs up or anything. Or do actually, thank you so much. Glory? Yeah. Golly, I need my glasses. I'm going to be squinting here. Okay, so yeah, do that. Every time you have a lesson, get your students with you by having thumbs up, or I want you to stand up, or I want you to jump up like a rabbit, for elementary. If you are going to be, if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, you know, um, maybe neigh like a horse or something, because you wake them up, especially in lower elementary. And that's after lunch. After lunch, kids are so sleepy. I used to do like, I would used to do reading picture book, like really short book that I would tie back to our topic. That after lunch, I would do something like that so that it would kind of get started with a conversation, or I would, or a writing or something that I would want them to do. Sometimes it could be a little book that would give the moral that would, that would connect to our text, or it could be something that I would have them to write to the characters, or, something great. It covers my standards, but then it's kind of fun for the kids, because you should have your students write every single day. It doesn't have to be the same. My kids write every single day because they would have they could have a check-in. Like I've started, I'm doing some consulting work where I'm working with 16 students right now. I have 12 days with them. And so I'm enjoying it, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And so when they first come in, I only have them for like 45 minutes. So everybody has a journal. So when they first come in, they would have this little individual chalkboard. They put a number from 1 to 10. And so I would model it. I would say a 9. Okay. And then they take their journal and they're going to say why a 9. So like the last entry I have is like, I gave myself a 9. Was yesterday. I said, I gave yourself, no, Thursday, 2 days ago. I said, I gave myself a 9, not a 10 today because I really miss my husband. I've been here at school 4 days, or 3 days, but 4 days because I had to come the day before. And I really miss our, cats and my husband and home. So I'm going to be giving myself a 9. I think this will turn into a 10 when I get home. So you always model that. So the kids were like, so funny, like, well, if you give yourself like a 5, give at least 3 to 4 reasons, and all that. And they said, well, I want to give myself a 4, but I don't want to give that many reasons. They don't want to write. I was like, oh, that's crazy. So so it became a conversation about their day. And I told them the rationale why I'm doing that is one, they could write and express themselves. Two is that your amygdala part of your brain, the emotional part is going to be blocking learning if you do not take care of it. So this is a way to vent out. They would say things like, oh, my friend really, made me mad today at lunchtime. Why? They would share these things. And I always told them, guys, this is a safe place. Whatever is shared here need to stay here. I cannot say Vegas rule, what's in Vegas stays in Vegas. I can't say that, but I just said whatever's being said in Dr. McCullough's class needs to stay here because this is a safe place. We're like family. And so it's kind of cute what the things that they would share, things that annoy them, things that made them happy. One of them was like, I'm looking forward to get to spend a night with my best friend's house, with my best friend at her house, things like that. So also that develops your knowledge of students. So now in my mind now, like, oh, so and so are best friends. So and so likes to do this. So one of them said, I get to work with my dad. We're gonna be fixing, the plumbing of my grandma's. And he said, I want to be a plumber someday. So I'm looking forward to this. And he gave himself an extra point because of that. So check-in is a good idea. Who does check-in in the classroom? It doesn't have to be written. Sometimes it could just be a verbal thing, like tell us something exciting that happened to you or something that's sad or, anything. So get the feelings out there. Who does stuff like that in the beginning of class? I would encourage you to do it. Nobody? John, do you do it? Do you do what? How do you do it, John?
Whenever I welcome the students, Doc, upon entering the classroom, I gave them a small paper with the characters of from the movie Inside Out. Then the question
Oh,
is,
I love that,
yeah,
John.
the
That's
question is,
awesome.
how are you feeling today? Then after,
Oh,
they are going to shade the heart depending
ah,
on the color of the character of the emotion that they're feeling at that moment. Then they're going to write, they're going to answer the question why. Um,
ah,
I'm targeting to get to know them on that specific day so that I know if they are feeling bad. So I will avoid shouting at them or giving them a lot of
Yeah.
Things
If
because if
that's
they are
right.
tired. And the
Yeah.
reason why I use why, it's because it's a HATS question. So
It's a
whenever the
very
students
high
are,
order thinking skills. You're right.
yes,
Yeah,
because
HATS.
if the students will answer the question started with because, I told them that, it's actually better if you're not going to start with because.
Mhm.
So in expressing your emotion, you can say, I feel angry today
Very
because
good.
this happened.
Yes.
So
I love that you gave them a sentence stem, because that's always for struggling writers, that's always a good idea to give them a stem, because they would just sit there like, I don't know how to get started. And so I would say things like, okay, have you thought of it this way? How about this? How about that? I would give them some ideas, and then they start writing, right?
yes,
And so
Doc,
very good idea to
I'm
have the
giving them
why.
already 5 points for that.
Oh,
And I told
nice.
them,
Giving points.
if,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, if you do how and why questions, like especially in Arkansas, you have the tests, which is the standards for teachers that the principals would watch. That is the why and how questions in the domain two, the domain three. 3A and 3B, 3B and 3C. So it's under instruction. And so those are deep questioning and engagement are the two things that are always weak in most schools that I have watched and observed, because I would always make a graph, and that's always going to be low. When I was an administrator, I would do that week, I would do some observation, and I would have it, since it's in a Google form, it's going to graph itself. So I would share it with the teachers during our PLC, or professional learning community time, and then I would always show them like a video or teaching channel video that shows them how to engage students. So I'm teaching them strategies, but then I'm also sharing the data that they have that week. So what are the things that we can do that we would have, we will ask students to answer to how and why questions. I said, when I observe you, I always write down the questions you ask your students, and there's a lot of what. So you might want to plan what you're gonna be asking. A lot of good teachers, they actually plan what they're in a sticky note, or in their book they are gonna be marking it where they would be asking questions. That is a good idea. You cannot just be winging it and ask a what question. And there is a time for that, of course, but when you're asking a what question, follow it with a how and a why as well. That way it will get to the higher level, not just recall. So you're doing a DOK one, DOK one and two. Try to get them to a DOK 3 and 4. So strategic thinking and extended thinking, where they are actually applying it to real life. And so that's when it gets to the higher level. And when you do that all the time, your kids are going to start, even asking you. And when your students start asking you questions, that is really a thumbs up for you. That means your kids are thinking and they're trying to ask you, they're processing it and asking you. And that's a good thing. And to me, I always am so happy when I'm observing somebody and the kids are doing that, because one, they feel safe to ask the teacher. They're not afraid of this teacher. They're asking questions. Two, they're thinking. So they're very engaged with your lesson because they're asking, they're share, um, they're asking you to call on them because they want to share something. And I love that, because it should not just be all us talking, right? It should be our students should be talking. And so I hope that you do that in your classrooms, that you allow your kids to talk. And at the end of after lunch, make sure you do some activities where they're actually walking, or being active. Have gallery walk. Give them something to do, and then put them in the. You can have them put in the four corners of your wall for every group, and then have them to do a gallery walk. Ring the bell or whatever time. Do a timer, and then everybody can go and look at everybody's product. That way they have to be up, and you can add give them a sticky note, and they would put sticky note on their comment there, or an index card or a little piece of paper. But anyway, I recycle a lot. I would not like the back of the paper. If it's not used yet, I would always like cut it in fours. That way I could use it for things like that. That way you're not killing a lot of trees. So anyway, so yeah, things like that could be done, and then they will remember it because it's much more fun for them rather than sit and get, right? Okay, so what other things that you do in order for you to get your kids moving? The body, the brain, was that the brain gym? There's a brain gym there. where the kids are actually like, you could have them dancing. There's a teacher, I think that was in Hope. I think the Filipino teacher there, elementary, she would always do like a 1 or 2 minute dancing thing where they're like learning something from the steps, and they were like, following it. She's a really good dancer. And I was trying to follow, like, oh my gosh, I cannot dance. These kids are good dancers. She's a good dancer. And the kids really, they wake up and they're so excited then because you give them that little brain break. So I was, I really like that. But you cannot do it too much, of course, either. And another thing is music, because it's music, it's going to be good. Yesterday I was at another school, and I was teaching the teacher how to teach persuasive writing, or, argumentative writing. So I was modeling. And so as I was showing some things for the kids, how to plan, and how to, our topic was AI, about should AI replace human jobs. So that's pretty exciting topic. They were like, oh no, what are the kids said? I think they should get rid of the white collar jobs, and just, they could not replace the blue collar job. And the teacher said, you know that we are white collar workers, right? And I said, so I was like laughing over there, and I said, yeah, you're right. Teachers are considered white collar. And I said, do you mean to think that, are you thinking that of corporate folks, that when you said white collar jobs, that means that that CEO and all those COO and all this? I said, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. They're just getting paid a lot of money, but then they're not really doing much. They're really having people do the work. So it's so funny that this ninth grader was so passionate about what goes on in society. He obviously had been reading things about, some corporation, they're paying their CEO millions of dollars, and they're not really doing as much as the other, middle executives, or even, lower. So you could also see the thinking of this child. He really felt strongly about it. Like, oh, don't take the job of the lower paying folks. Do not take their job. The robots should not take their job. And, a conversation ensued where talking about, do you know that in Walmart, like equivalent to Gaisano, where there's robots now, refilling shelves. They're not the people anymore. They're like, you have robots over there, just, have this little metal thing moving and then putting all these things on the shelf, at night. So I said, yeah, I even saw like a little robot in a restaurant where the robot was going over the different aisle, and people were just putting their dirty plates on it. So you don't have to have the waiters and the waiter, And so anyway, so as technology gets cheaper, because robots will be cheaper, then more industry will be able to afford it. So slowly there will be a lot of jobs, like menial jobs, that could be done by robots. But I think for teachers, there's always gonna be, like Debbie and I had this conversation before, that your social and emotional needs, and I told the kids, PIES, your physical, intellectual, emotional, and social needs. A lot of times the intellectual will be, that could be easily replaced. But when you start talking about the physical, which is your love and safety and so on, and then the social needs plus the emotional needs, that's going to be harder for the robots. They'll have to be more advanced later. Maybe they get more fancy for us. But right now, no. It's going to be very much more of a kind of labor related easy things right now. Creativity wise, humans will be, there are robots that could, AI that could do better, but there are a lot of really creative people out there that I could not see now with the technology that they are going to be replaced. But, things like that, when you are bringing topics that are trendy, that are current, then it's going to get them to have this conversation. It gets deeper, I think. So because one of the a very common prompt would be like, should school wear uniform? That's one thing that you always see. But then I was thinking, we don't even wear uniforms here in America in most places. I know in Arkansas there are very few, mostly private schools that would be wearing uniform. They're wearing civilian clothes. And so then I had to share with them like one of the that's one of the topics I had them to plan about, for a seventh grader. prompt, and they said, "Oh, we can really relate." And I said, "That's right, because you've never experienced it." And I was sharing about I was wearing one in elementary, in high school, in college, and so as a person that was raised really in poverty, it really helped me because I didn't have to worry about branded clothes that I had to wear every day. There was a wash day on Wednesday, so we only have to buy two sets of uniform, wash it on Wednesday. So on Wednesday we can wear civilian clothes and then wear the same one Thursday and Friday. That's a very common thing that happened in the Philippines. So they never thought of that. They said that, oh, and I said, yeah, there's six of us. So six of us cannot be wearing, branded clothes. And so even on a Wednesday, I'm like, oh, what am I going to be wearing? So I remember that we had this one pair of Adidas shoes that my sister, my oldest sister, the one in Australia now, she bought this with her own money that she paid, and she would hide it from us. And I would be like, my sister and I would be like, let's go to her cabinet, and we would like help each other to like, okay, push that in, and then we'll try to steal it. We'll try to take turns wearing it because she was working and we were going to school. And she's so OCD. I'm sorry, I love my sister Juvie, but she's so observant that she notices because we cleaned it, we made sure that she doesn't know somebody just wore my shoes. I remember that. I remember this Adidas, that she really loved. And the last time we were talking about it, she just thought that was so funny. She said, "Yeah, you too. You were always trying to get it." And I said, "Why did you not let us use it? Like it will cost anything to have us wear it." And said, "Yeah, I think we go to some phase where we're kind of very territorial about our things, and then we do go through that." And because there's six of us, there's really a lot of, sharing is caring type thing. But everybody will go through that phase. And so, anyway, because we have that background, then we understand our students also that come to school and maybe, have issues like that. Maybe their clothes. One person did a comment like, "Did you wear that yesterday?" And that's kind of comment like, okay, I'm not gonna go there. But I know that we were poor, but I would never wear something 2 days in a row. I still don't, because I just feel like, well, I need to wash it. There's sweats in there, whatever. But some kids would wear it 2 or 3 days in a row. And some kids would even sleep with it and then come back, and wake up and then go to school with it. I mean, I think there's also the thing about cleanliness, you can be poor and still be clean. And that's always kind of like what I would always, say that, even if we're poor, we have water. And so I was very surprised that one teacher told me, and this is in Arkansas in the 2000 something already. She said, "Do you know that I had a student that did not have water and they have to still get it from the river?" And I said, "Really? In Arkansas in 2000, 20s?" He said, "Yes, we have some kids out in the mountains right here in Arkansas that do not have indoor plumbing. They still live like the old days and like the Amish lives, but." And I said that was a very surprising thing, but it does happen in the very remote areas. It would be like province for the Philippines, and so things like that. If you get to know your kids, you'll know who they are. If they're labeled homeless if they're living with a relative. If they're not living with their parents, the counselor could label them homeless. They're not really homeless. They're living with some people, but because they're not with their parents, they would be considered homeless. So when schools get money from the government about to help homeless, they will see the percentage of people that are that in that situation, and that will be considered your homeless population, and they will give them certain funds to help them. And so there will be some in the big cities here in America. You would have students that are living in their cars, and so you will see their cars full of their stuff, and that's where they live. And so these are things that are unheard of in the Philippines because I don't never remember, because for one thing, if you have a car, you must have money, so you can't really have a car to like stay in. And then because it's tropical, there are other places that you could actually sleep or something, but not in America when it's cold, when it's very, it's winter, then they'll have to have a lot of blankets or whatever. I remembered one of my former students, and I think this was in the 1990s. Um, I didn't realize that they live in like an old school bus. Those school bus are not insulated. And so, he was telling about stories or whatever, and they said that there were, I think, five of them or whatever, and they were like having these areas in the bus that they were staying and so on. And I think he wrote that in his journal, and that's how I know. And so then I start to go to the office and look at where he really lived, and I went down there and looked, and yeah, he lived in a bus. And so they just put a lot of like blankets and curtains and things like that in the bus, but still I could see it to be really cold in the winter time. So there are poverty in America. I know as Filipinos we think, oh, we're in America. This is where the gold, there's gold in the streets. No, there are also a lot of poverty here. So when you come to America to teach, you have to remember that there are still three classes. There's still the poor and the middle class and the rich. You're not going to find the very rich ones in the public school, because the really rich ones are usually in a very expensive private school. And so anyway, so it's kind of good to know that, because we do have misconceptions when you come to America. John, what do you think? Or Debbie, what do you think about that? Do you agree that we have that misconception possibly?
Yes, doctor, definitely. I think that's one thing that because of media and social media, we are more aware that it isn't. Because growing up, I've always thought that America is this. I have a very, how would I say, I put America in the pedestal.
Mhm.
But over the years, hearing it over the news and learning about it, and especially now living here, it really is an awakening that you know we shouldn't have
Assume.
this how would
Assumption,
I put that, yeah,
misconception.
perception that
Yeah.
it is how it was many years ago. I should say my husband would always tell me it is different 20 years ago, or at least 30 years ago, to where it is now. Because right in California, doctor, every time I see the homeless people,
Oh, there's
I
a lot.
mean, a
Hmm.
lot. And from where I was in Thailand, it's very different. Yes, in the Philippines there are, but here, because like you said, we have this misconception that America is just all what we think when we see in the movies. But no,
Yeah.
it's not.
Yep, you're right. So those are good things to know, because as a teacher, you will be much more effective. I think if you have that understanding of the knowledge of students, back again to the corporate position, your knowledge of students will help you with your knowledge of content, because you will customize your lesson in order to address the needs of your students. So that's why, to me, journal writing or reflective journal is very important. Check in the beginning, and in the very end, your exit would be, your ticket to get out of here would be to write about what you learned, or to write about, what you're looking forward to for this weekend. And then on Monday, I always say, well, tell me about your weekend. Share about your weekend. Make sure you have at least, do not be listy. I don't want them to like list. I want them to give me something and explain it in two more sentences before you go on to another, because you will catch them just making a list, like a bulleted list. Well, I don't want that. I want them to practice giving details and elaboration. So although they're sharing, because they will carry that over to the writing. So I want them to kind of, express themselves, but at the same time also learning, how to write in a formal way. But so that's what I would do. And lately we've been saying, okay, we need to stretch those sentences. We need to have at least 10 words or more. As they over there counting. Oh, I have 12. I have 14. And so I said, well, you have to stretch them by using because, or combining two sentences together, and putting conjunctions, and then sometimes you're adding, adverbs to describe your verb, and then adjectives to describe your nouns. And that's how you can stretch those sentences. So we're making it a teachable moment, at the same time, also knowing what's going on in their minds. And I think, to me, that makes it powerful, when anytime you connect anything to their lives, and they get close to you. I mean, they feel so close. One of these ninth graders was like telling me about, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, when everybody left, she said, Dr. McCullough, I am talking to this guy, and he was like holding my hand, but I don't know, are we going out? like, I said, sweetheart, what is it in America when you hold hands? Is that like considered you going out, or do you have to formally say? I said, I know in the Philippines we have to say, are we girlfriend and boyfriend? So that kind of conversation kind of tickled me, but it made me proud too that I'm like, oh, good, wow, she felt comfortable, and here I am just gonna be with them 12 days, and she felt comfortable on day 6 that she was telling me about her problems and that it was really bothering her because she really liked this guy, but when they were holding hands right there, during break, but she still did not know the status of the relationship. So anyway, so I was smiling whenever she left, but I just said, well, communication is key. You have to talk, just like we do it with our friends. Really just have a conversation with him. Don't be shy. Ask him, so what's the deal? Because they really take those things seriously. It's already 13 years old, 14 years old. They really take those things here. Like in the Philippines, we're not even, I mean, I don't remember ever even thinking about that. That's all about friends. We're not going to be worried about that here. 13, 14-year-olds, they're getting serious about relationships. And being a very strict mother, Stephanie, growing up, she would say, Mom, my friends are dating at 16. And I'm like, nope, not you. So I compromised and made it like 17 or 17 and a half, but they can do a group one, but not like individual. And she was telling me, Mom, do you know that you are the strictest mother in Fulton County? And I said, Fulton is where Salem is. And I said, well, at least it's just in Fulton County. There's 74 other counties. But anyhow, but her point was I was, really strict, and her friends' parents were not strict, but I was. And so I think my husband is not as strict as I am. She would say, let her go. You said, and looking back, I really kind of regretted it because I should have trusted because she's such a good girl. I know she would not have chosen bad choices, but it's not sometimes it's not you. It's the peers that are around you that might yeah, that might get you to those bad decisions. So I guess I was worried about that, although her friends were always so good too. They're like the cream of the crop, in the school. They're really smart and really good kids. They still are. And so anyway, but I just, whenever you're raised that way, our dad was so strict, we could not date until we finished college. That's how strict he was. So when you don't know any better, you do that. You just follow that modeling of the parenting. But then when you know better, you should do better, just like anything. So that's why you feel like, oh, my second child, I was a better mother. I was a better parent because you have all this learning and this, just like in teaching, we are better and better and better every year. Because especially if you're a reflective teacher, that's core proposition 4, which is reflection. If you constantly reflect like, okay, this worked, this did not work. I used to like really take notes in my lesson plan that if I teach this lesson again, I need to take this out, I need to add this, I need to add this in or whatever. So I would go back and look at my lesson plans when I start planning for the next year, when units or whatever. I would always look back on my notes. Nobody should have a 30-year lesson plan where they just recycle it every time. I think you should always customize it for the kids that you have every year. So I'm always like some of the units that I really like, I would recycle them, but I would always customize it to that group of kids because it depends on what they're into. So those are the activities I would do are things that they like. If you have one year you have kids that are really verbal, they really like to talk. Well, I might add debates and mini debates or some speaking things in there because they really like to talk. Some years you might have kids that really love to write. So I would do a lot more writing activities or something when I do some planning. So those are some things that you could do. Decision making should also be tied to your knowledge of content and knowledge of students, right? And of course, assessment will come right there with it because you have to know what they know before you start teaching them. And then I think if you add that collaboration piece, which is your last core proposition, it's good because that's when you bring in your guest speakers, you bring in your experts, whatever your topic is, bring the experts in and let them talk about it. A conversation I had with that English teacher yesterday, but she said, well, I'm teaching 11th graders and 12th graders too, and they're in my speech classes. And So I said, well, what activities are you having them do? Are you tying it to like jobs? Because these kids are now doing their resume, they're doing their volunteer work, so to build up the resume. So I said, have you tried like having some business folks come in and actually having a mock interview with them? And I said, I used to do this. I used to be invited by some university professors, and I would do a mock interview for teachers, pre-service teachers that are about to graduate. And so I would come in as an administrator. I would actually pretend like I'm either the principal or I'm the superintendent, and I would give them questions and I would tell them, okay, you answered it, with the 2 points, but you may have to add this one and this one, just kind of like what I do with you guys. But I would give them some tips as a new teacher. You need to do this or whatever, and so it really helps them. Like in the evaluation at the end, I always want to know their feedback. They always say, "I think this would really help me when I do my interview." And then later, I think I remembered one teacher. I was visiting a school. I think I was judging science fair that time, and she was already hired by that school. She said, "Do you remember you went to our school whenever before we graduated, and you talk about this? I actually used those tips you had about interview, and that helped me get a job." And I said, "Well, good to know." You always get, you have some impact there, but you never know until later. So it's kind of nice to hear that from teachers that you do, help. And so with you also do the same with your students. If you're a high school teacher, be sure that you bring it into real life. What does this look like in their life? Or how do they use this in their lives? And it's a lot to do with jobs. We have schools now, of course, in Arkansas, we're pushing for STEM, for it doesn't have to be the 4-year college. It would be just the career and technical. Well, they get paid a lot more. Welders and all that, they get paid a lot more. But we're pushing for that, and a bunch of the schools are actually partnering with companies in their community, and they're having training, on the job training as part of their, internship type thing. And then they get paid to go. They're already working, but then they're still going to school. But the companies benefit because they already having training, for for their future worker, like for full-time workers. But now they're doing that part-time, but they're really learning the actual jobs requirements that they would have. Instead of having to just hire anybody from there, they are getting it from their local students, and they already giving them the skills they should have, which is gonna be making it more relevant. The kids are so excited because like, oh, I'm gonna get paid for this because I will, after I do this during school with my internship classes, then I could go and work 2-3 hours at that company. And the company is really partnering with the school. So, and I think that's a good idea. Do you have anything like that going on at your schools, or do we have that in the Philippines? I didn't know if you do or not. I like that part when they are partnering with the local businesses. Anybody? Okay, nobody. Now I'm gonna quit talking now. I'm gonna call Leah. Leah, do you have anything to say? Do you have any comment or feedback from what we just did? Have you noticed this is I never really planned a conversation. I just thought whatever comes up, we're gonna go with it because it just like, because I have 30 plus years of experience, I would just pull some things that happened or happening right now. So Leah, tell me about you. Tell me about what's going on. Thank you for attending.
Yeah, thank you, Doc, for this invitation.
Yeah.
Actually, I attended, I think last year. I happened to browse through YouTube,
Okay,
and
you
then
found us on
I tried
YouTube.
to
Thank you.
check. I
Yeah,
tried to check in the Facebook, the group. So I tried to join you, and then finally I was able to join
good
tonight.
job. Yeah, thank you. I think
Yeah,
on YouTube, I try to put on the comment there, like if you want to join us. Is that where you found it?
yeah,
Like if
yeah,
you want to
yes,
join
yes,
us,
Doc.
this is the link, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Doc.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea because I did find a lot of supporters from that. They would say some of them are so cute. They said, "Oh, I'm your fan." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, no." We're learners together. There's no fanhood here. But that's so sweet. But so Leah, what kind of grabbed your attention? What are things that we were doing in a video that may have told you that, "Oh, this is something I may be able to use." So what were the things that kind of got you?
Yeah, honestly, Doc, it was you. I can see
Oh,
you.
sweet.
You're very, you're kind. I can see this, the influence in you.
Well, thank
So
you. So are you.
yeah,
Your eyes, our eyes are the window of our souls.
yeah, thank
So
you,
you can
Doc.
you can see the eyes being kind.
That
Yeah.
that influenced me to join you. Although I've heard many uh Filipinos who also advertise in sharing their experiences in America, but I don't know what is in you that brings me to
Oh,
listen to you, and there's something in you that I
thank
just
you.
cannot explain what is it, but I don't know. I can just see the honesty and all the help I can see.
I tried. I tried. When you are vulnerable, and I try to be vulnerable, it actually breeds trust. When you are
Yeah.
vulnerable, like what did I say? I said something to the teacher the other day that I'm like, so really? And you're sharing that? I said, yeah, I'm sharing that, because I'm vulnerable. I mean, I'm human too. And I made these mistakes, I think one of the things that she said was like, I want to ask forgiveness for this child like I did 2 years ago. What happened? We were eating. I think she said, well, this child was coming into my classroom and she was saying things like, I'm just annoyed by so and so, this teacher. She was griping about this teacher. And she said she was just saying negative things. And of course, she was in a bad mood to the teacher. That's a friend of mine. She said, I just told her in front of her peers, which I should not have. She said, she's a middle schooler. And she said, well, what annoyed me are people like you. That's bad mouthing teachers. And I'm like, you didn't do that. She said, yes, I did. And, I said, then how did you handle it later? Because we should never do that. We should never embarrass kids in front of others. You could maybe tell them that privately, but never in front of their peers where they are embarrassed and have to save face. And she said, well, I actually wrote her a letter and asking for forgiveness and all that. And then later on, she was like bringing it up as a group. So I guess that kind of made me like, well, I have to like say this to the whole class that were there. So it turned out fine. She said that the kid really said, I was wrong. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I should not have done that. And so she realized and she learned from it. But at the same time, the teacher also learned that, well, I should have done that. And so then there you go, you're reflective. If you're reflective, then that's good because then you will, you know better, you did better, right? So Leah, thank you so much for that testimonial. And so what are your desires? What are your goals? Do you want to come here? What are your goals?
I think that's everyone's dream to see the other part of the world, and
Yeah.
most specifically US.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is I'm just assuming, but I hope it will come to reality that we can really wanted to share our expertise too.
Oh yeah, I do hope that when you come in, and I tell everybody that when you come in and you already got a job, please come back and talk to us because we would love to know your experiences. And there were maybe 3 or 4 this week that had emailed me and said, "Oh, by the way, I'm already here. I'm already in this state, and thank you so much. I've learned from you, and help me on the interview." And this is like a year or two later, and they were telling me, well, at least they're telling me. So in my file, I marked them off. I mean, I took them off so that other schools wouldn't be trying to contact them. So if I have your resume and cover letter, if you haven't sent me, it's Merlina at Gmail. Um, you let me know if you have been hired because they'll be, the administrators will be wasting their time trying to look for applicants and you already are here. So that's kind of a waste of their time. So I want to know so I can mark you off and I put you in my file of the ones that are already here. I have a different file for that. So it would be nice to have that, to have you to take the time to send me a little email. And I always invite folks to say, I wish you'll come in Zoom because I think it's so encouraging to folks that are still in the Philippines to know that, oh, it's not just like a dog barking at the moon. It's actually going to happen, because it does happen, and you never know what God's plans are. Maybe that will happen for you within 2 or 3 months because once you find a school, and it's, by the way, March is when schools are actually getting their letter of intent. This is a letter, I mean, this is the paperwork that the current teachers now are signing to tell their bosses if they're coming back or are they retiring or they're moving on. So this is the time by the end of March, by spring break, that usually the administrators already know what are their needs. they already know I need 2 math teachers. I need 3 of this or whatever. They already have that list because I know that because they're emailing me. They were telling me, Marlena, send me the list of all your high school, math teachers candidates. And I'm like, so I would send them the link and linking to all the, resumes that were telling me that they're that. And so if they sent me a 2-minute video, there's also a link there for the video. And I think that's been helping those that have sent it, and then I would include a link so when they open the Google sheet, you will have your file there, your name there, and your number of years of experience, your degrees, and then the link to your to your folder, so they will see everything you've sent me, you have sent me, and then the link to your video if you have a video. And that's been so good because that helps them narrow down the candidates that they would like to speak to in person because they've already heard a little bit about you. And also, so I have told them about, well, I would send them the link to my channel and or YouTube. And I would say, okay, check my YouTube and then kind of look at those videos. And if you see someone, take their names down or whatever, and I'll be glad to send you their paperwork. So these videos are really helpful. So try to talk during our Zoom. That way you'll have some screen time that the school administrators would also see because they will have access to YouTube. And so they'll contact me and I'll be glad to send it to them. And I do the same thing. When somebody would tell me, I would go, okay, what video number was it? He said, oh, on video 87. I'm like, okay. So I have all my file here in my Zoom folder. So I would go back and say, okay, this teacher, I remembered her, because they want to know more about what I think about that teacher. They seem to really like care about, okay, Marlena, do not just send me all this list. I really want you to tell me specific things about these teachers. So the more that I know these teachers, for example, I know Giselle and Maria's mom, Marlon, and my cousin Fran, they're really looking actively right now because there's the only 3 left out of the 13, West Memphis 13, that what all the high schools are now here, but the elementary are left there. So I'm always, I can say a lot about them because they're always here. And so, Leah, I encourage you to attend more than just one time, okay? Because you need to have screen time. And what are some ideas that you want to share? Some things that you might do in your classroom that you're proud of, things that work for you?
Honestly, Doc, I've been always watching your YouTube channel, like doing many things like household chores, checking the papers. I listen to you, anything I do.
Oh, nice.
So
Thank
I
you.
am enjoying at least seeing the hours, like it's 4 to 5 hours of playing the YouTube. I'm
Oh,
always
thank you.
listening to you and also get some points from your
Yes.
advices, and then some of the teacher applicants to the ideas of how they will answer the interviews.
Yeah.
Well, what I can with when you also shared earlier that the conception of America, we at my end I already anticipated that, and it's not really a walk in the park
You
to be
know,
in there.
first month, I see a lot of criers. They would call me and say, oh, and I'm like, I did tell you this. I never said it's going to be easy, never. Because what you'll find is that those schools that are open to hiring international teachers are schools that are having problems hiring locally because either poverty or maybe they're so remote that people like young people or whatever do not want to stay there because they'd rather be in a place where they can do something after school. So it's remote, or sometimes it's just that the poverty thing. There's not much things going on there. There's not much the schools will not be as pretty as the other schools because they're maybe dilapidated because of the funding. So those that are very superficial and are really not there for the right reason. They're just like, oh yeah, I want to work in a really fancy school or whatever. Because some schools are fancier. Some schools aren't very nice, are even better than our private schools in the Philippines. The public schools here are really, really nice. But there are also some places, especially in Arkansas, in the remote areas where our schools are really old. And so you can see the differences of like the delta part of Arkansas, and this is the eastern side. If you look at the map, this is the side like where Helena and Brinkley are. This is the side like a border between Arkansas and Mississippi. So if you see that by the Mississippi River, those are high poverty areas. But if you look at the north central and the northwest part of Arkansas, which is like bordering Oklahoma. So if you look at the schools right there close to Oklahoma, Springdale, Rogers, and all that, those are rich schools. They have a lot of funding because they may have lots of poverty, but they have a lot of Hispanic population. They have a lot because they have Tyson chicken, a lot of people working, but they get lots of funding. And so their schools are beautiful. They're just really fancy, really big brick buildings, and just really, some of them are like in pods where, 3 or 4 teachers would be working in like pods, and then you are like a team together and all this. So it's very modern and all this. I like visiting. Bentonville is one of them. And it's very eye opener because I work at schools, like a lot of time I may have from 8 to 10 schools I'm working. So I get to visit this school. This month I guess I feel blessed because I only have one day off. A whole month of March, I'm full. And so I didn't intend to be this busy. I just want to work like, yeah, maybe once a week or twice a week. But month of March is really busy because the testing is going to be in April. And so they want the teachers to have all these skills, like a PD thing, but in front of students. So I'm teaching teachers in front of their students. So they're over there watching me and all this. And then the last period or two, I may say, hey, do you feel more comfortable now to teach what I taught the other classes? I want to watch you because we always debrief. What are the things that I could improve and what are the things that I could have done, whatever for this class. And so we would debrief. And so I'm learning as we go. And then at the end of the day, then I'm watching them do what I did. So it's kind of nice, coaching model. So then they feel more comfortable because I had to take in risk. I had shown them, my vulnerability. I am a teacher like you. And so debrief with me, tell me my glows and grows. And then we did the same at the end of the day. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so kind of neat to see that they're like emulating what you're doing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, really? And they do such a better job because they have already internalized it and they've improved it. And so I would always like, tell them what I'm thinking, that, oh, I love the way that you did this, because they know their kids. Like, for example, I would say evidence and your reasons. She said, oh, students, remember we call, Dr. McCullough said reason, that is another name, but we all have always called it justification. And so she was putting the terms that they have been using to go with mine, because mine is, what I've always called it, but she's calling it differently. So she was putting that same language together. So things like that could happen. And so when you come here, Leah, you need to you will have like a mentor. They call that a go-to person that you would, that they will assign for you. Usually the principal would assign like a team leader. So you'll have like a second. What grade do you teach? What grades?
I am currently I'm handling kindergarten doc.
Okay. So you will
Right.
have a kindergarten team leader, and the kindergarten
Mhm.
team leader would be like showing you the ropes. They call that, where they're showing you, okay, this is how we do it. And this is, some schools are still having like this 1 hour nap. That's some schools are based on play. They still believe in like having kids to play, but some schools are more very academic oriented. And there's still some testing in kindergarten, but it's most like readiness things. But there are two different thinking there. Some of the administrators think that, oh, they should do more play, they should do more imagination things. But some administrators would think, no, they need to be taught the ABCs, they need to do this. And I feel for myself, they have to have good balance. I think at that age, they should still be able to have imagination. But at the same time, yes, they do need to know their letters. I have to humble brag here, but like my two kids, Stephanie and Jet, they were reading at 3 years old. And my husband said, because she's always teaching. Merlina's always teaching. She never stopped teaching. I would get this giant, I got this giant like foam letters for the tub, when they were over there like playing in the tub. I have these giant letters, we stick it on the wall, and I would say, okay, what is this? And then we'd see McDonald's and, oh, look at that M. I would always see like environmental print. So those are readiness things that you can do with your students and your own kids, right? And so by third, and then working with their letters, working with their sounds, and computer games that have all those beginning sounds and ending sounds and then middle sounds, putting it together, starting from the short sounds to long sounds and so on. And so they put it together. So by 3 years old, they were reading. They're reading little books. But then so by 5 years old, they were doing little chapter books. So which was a struggle because they were bored to death because these teachers are still teaching the kids like one letter a week. And so that's why, I said this before that Stephanie was coming home from first day of school, kindergarten. She said, Mom, I don't have to go back because I already know everything the teacher taught her. And I think she was telling the truth. But so that kind of made me like, I need to find out if they could put her in accelerated reader like a first grader would, like reading books. So while the other kids were learning their letters, Stephanie was over there reading her book already. So she was not being brought back. She was actually being challenged. Same thing with Jet. That happens with Jet as well. So they actually have to, they never had students that are in kindergarten and are in accelerated reader program where they are reading books. But for my two kids, I have to pretty much talk to the principal and the librarian. Can you please put my kids in there? Because I do not want them to hate school and be bored. And they were never bored. So they were reading big books already by the time kids were just like learning the little picture books. And so these are things that you could do in your classroom. These are things that you could do at home. Do you have any kids, Leah?
Uh, I don't have dog, but I'm enjoying my class every day.
Do
Like I
you?
have, yeah, I am having, actually, I am an elementary teacher. I've been with the elementary graders for 5 years,
Okay.
but and started to volunteer as a kindergarten teacher in the public school service until I get a permanent
Session.
position.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
until
called
December.
yeah.
And then I fell in love with the kindergarten though.
Yeah.
They're the best for me.
Uh-huh.
I can see that every day though it's tiring, they're so noisy. They give reports every day,
Oh no, they
telling me
tattle. Yeah.
going telling me what's going on in their lives at
Uh-huh.
home. I
Uh-huh.
will know whose father is drunk at night. I
Yeah,
will
I know,
know,
right?
yeah.
So you get to know,
I
yeah, you get
know
to know
they
things
had,
about home life.
they
Yeah.
will tell you everything. So in that just earlier, Doc, you were sharing about what do we do during the class. So I have this a informal conversation with them, like preparing them first before we will start our class.
Oh yeah.
So
Good job.
since our Philippine system, we do not have that much funding for centers.
Mm-hmm.
Like
The learning
we
stations.
don't have that. So what we
Mm-hmm.
do, like I share with them like informal conversation, or maybe I started with the story, anything, and then they can relate until we will go really to our main topics, like our
Nice.
real life.
Very good intro. Yeah, role play doesn't cost you anything. So have them to act out things. If you're doing if you're doing a story about, some make believe stories, have them to act out. What would the characters be like? What do you think this one would say and all this? So I want somebody to act out like so and so, and how about the other characters? They love that because they're using their imagination, but then they're visualizing the story, which means that they're going to increase their comprehension, right? And so talking about like they're always tattling, there's always a very big thing about tattling in kindergarten. And I was one of my student teaching grades was kindergarten because I was wanting elementary and then a higher one. So kindergarten was one of my favorites. So oh my goodness, that year. And I was very big pregnant with Stephanie. In fact, she was born like, the end of my student teaching part one. And so very good timing, right? That Friday, my last day, she was born that day. So I said, what a good timing. But anyway, they would say things to me like, oh, so and so did this, so and so did that. So I said, okay, I had this character thing that I put on the wall and I called it Mr. Tattle. And I said, I wanted to tell Mr. Tattle that. And they were like, it's so funny that they would say it loudly, like, Mr. Tattle did this one, did this. And then they realized, oh my
That's a
God, that
good
is not good.
technique, Doc.
Yep, they got picky. They got picky on what they really say. Like, if you really think that I will be the one to hear it, I want you to tell Mr. Tattle first and see what you think about that.
Right,
And they
right.
realize how silly it is because this is like, it doesn't even make sense. And so that really reduced a lot of my tattling. So they really got to think about, oh,
True.
is this worth really telling
That's
her?
a good idea, Doc.
Yeah.
I've
Or
learned
is this
it from
Mr. Tattle thing?
now.
Yeah,
I
because
can
if
I
you're
can
tattling
apply
about
that
somebody.
in my classroom setup here. Yeah, I'll
Mhm.
try to make Mr. Taddle too.
Yeah, Mr. Tattle. And sometime in the playground when I have duty, I have a Mr. Tattle on a tree. Mr. Tattle tree. I talk to Mr. Tattle. And so I would, yeah, and I think I'm sure it wasn't original. I'm sure I got it from somebody. You know how in education we just kind of, borrow and steal
Yeah.
ideas. And that's what I'm sure heard it from someone. But it's a very good idea because it really does make them more decisive about, I mean, they have to make a decision. Is this really something she needs to know? Is somebody get hurt? Did I get hurt? Is this something that she really needs to know to take care of? But if not, it's just going to be a tattle. I don't want to talk to Mr. Tattle. So, and so, of course, when they're older, that you can always have them to write in a journal, write it in the journal. And then I have that back burner jar where I have my little recycled paper, and they have to write it in that little piece of paper and put it in my jar. It's like a big jar with a lid, like you would do, a hole like you do the bank money. And so they would deposit it there. And so when they're doing something quietly, independent work, I would open my back burner jar, and I will make sure I take care of that before they go. So that's something that I have to take care of it now because it's something that's bothering them. Some of them would say, "Oh, my mom and dad were fighting so much last night. I didn't even have a good night's sleep," or my dad just get picked up to go to jail, or my mom's having a baby. Happy things and sad things and things that worry them. They put it in there, and so I would make sure that I would whisper to them, "Oh, congratulations! I'm so glad. Are you excited about this baby? Whatever, I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry that grandma's sick or whatever." So I would like whisper to them and would take. They know I took care of it. But if it's something serious that they really need to talk to me, sometimes I would step out there outside and we would like talk more. But then there's a hole there with a glass that you can still watch the rest of the kids. And then if it's serious enough that they need to talk to the counselor knows I will be sending kids there, and she would tell me the best time to do it. Well, she doesn't have any classes. So things like that they have a way to vent. They have a way to tell, and it's not just a tattletale things. But kindergarten, that's a really natural thing to have some tattlers there, right? And I noticed that if you have kids that are either only child or a youngest, they seem to be wanting attention. I saw a lot of that, where they must not be getting that much. They felt like, oh, there's a lot of siblings there that I may not get as much attention like I want to. And I often joke in my head, like, oh yeah, middle children, like I'm a middle child, are messed up because they're so confused because there's so many things going on above them and below them. But the youngest, sometimes they're more needy sometimes. I mean, of course, I cannot generalize that's all, but this is what I noticed for me. And then only children, I found that a lot of them needed social skills because they really did not have any siblings to grow up with and take turns with and whatever. So some of those that I had were more territorial about their thing. This is mine. I want to share. And I'm like, because they don't have to share when they were alone, they by themselves. So I have to explain to them that in the classroom, we have to share. I only have a learning station where I have their favorite was this math manipulatives that they can put together into 3D shapes. So they would they would put it together, and we would take pictures of it before they would take it apart. So he didn't want to share. He wants that whole box for himself. And I said, no, this is for the class. You can do, so you have to share. I know at home you may not have to share, but you might want to get used to, to sharing because everywhere else you're gonna have to share. In the playground you'll have to share, in the classroom you'll have to share. So that's a conversation I've had with his mama, because he don't want to work with groups either. I want to work by myself. And I said, but see, in my class, I really encourage them to work in a group because I said in life, we're going to be working in teams. We're going to be unless you're going to be a researcher in a lab somewhere by yourself, that's going to be rare. But you always have to work with society, with people. And so it's more like a punishment when you are being put in an island. I call it an island by yourself. It's almost like a punishment because you cannot behave yourself. But he wanted to punish himself, so I had to make him like, okay, I want you to, slowly get in there once a week. You need to go join a team, whatever. And then it went to 2 times a week. You have to build that without forcing them. That it's just my expectation that this is what I wanted you to do because I want you to feel how it is to be part of a group. And later on, oh my gosh, he wouldn't even want to work alone. He was like, yeah, he got to have friends, because he developed some friends because before he didn't have very many friends because he wanted to read book alone in the playground. He wanted to do things alone. And so then when he realized, oh, my classmates really care for me. And so then they decided to hang out and do things together. So So to me, our role as teachers are not just really teachers. We're like psychologists, we're like mothers, we're counselors. We have so many hats, right? Do you feel that, Leah?
Agree,
You have
Doc.
so many hats that you play. Yeah, that you have to to play that role. And that's so sad, especially if they're in a home that's an unhappy home. In America, I think half of the marriages are end up in divorce. And so we have unhappy children that are seeing unhappy marriages. And that's a sad thing because, I will know that from their journals and mom and dad were fighting again or whatever. And so it makes you reflect like, oh, the poor child, this is what he had to come home to. And some of them don't, did not act like they want to go home because school is a happy place for them. And that was what I experienced. And when my mom, if not for my mom, I think all of us would have run away from home. Mom's like the glue because dad was so mean to us and was so violent and would beat us up that school was a happy moment, happy place for me. And my teachers were so close to me because can I help? Can I do something? Because I love school and I still love school. That's still, when I come into a school as a consultant, I feel like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they pay me to do this. I'm having so much fun with them. They pay me $1,000 a day, and I do this, and this is this is a lot of fun. So you continue to have that, and you are in the right place whenever you have that feeling. Rather than do I have to? When administrators talk about teachers that are negative like that, and they would say things like, that teacher is like, she had her purse by the door. She's ready to go. They wanted to, yeah. And so these are teachers that are really about to retire, but then they're making it miserable for the kids. And that's a really sad thing, but why not retire early? But the thing is, if you retire early, like in Arkansas, it's like 28 years to have a full retirement. So if you were 23 when you get started, you're only 51, you can retire. I retired at 48 years old. And so anyway, so then you can do something else, like, consulting. My husband said, yeah, you didn't really retire. You kind of just moved on to something else. But consulting is much better because it's not a full-time thing. You can say no or not, or yes. So anyway, so yeah, those are the different roles that we play. And so if you don't have a child, to me, that's a good practice, right? To become a mother because you see this. I've seen, talking about kindergarten, I've seen children that were like abused. And one of the children that was really sad for me to think about is this child that was having a hard time controlling going to the bathroom because his own grandfather had in jail by then, in prison, was abusing him sexually. And so he had this health issues and so on, and he could not control it. And because I was so big pregnant, looked like I swallowed a big watermelon, then it's so hard for me to like bend whatever. So the teacher said, no, you don't do that. I'll do it. And so, but I remember the sad story about this child because of this, awful, evil grandparent that did this and end up in prison. But you see things like that in America, and I don't know in the Philippines. I don't think you would have seen something as bad. That maybe there's some very few but instances, but there are some things happening in America that's like shocking. And that's one of the things that really shocked me. Like, oh my gosh, really? That's horrible. And then you have kids that would be put in foster home, from foster home, because the parents are both in jail. And the sad thing about it, in some foster homes are abused. So I had two kids that were so emotionally like really bad. Like one was like laying down on the floor, and this is fourth grade, laying down on the floor screaming as if he's a child because he had been abused in so many homes and very violent child. And I had to question the principal, and I'm like, are you sure you're gonna put this child in my room? You know what? Somebody was sharing like, oh, this child like tried to hurt somebody with a pair of scissors. So here I was hiding all my scissors. Like, what if this child will hurt one of my students or hurt me? So eventually that child was put in an alternative school. They have alternative schools that they are literally taken from that school and go to some health center or something where they are in, like, it's almost like a prison, but it's some kind of institution where they are safe. And so things like that you will experience in America. And the bigger cities, you'll have more of that. You don't have as many in the remote areas, but in the big cities, like the capital of a state, like Little Rock, for example. In Little Rock, Arkansas, which is like Manila equivalent for us, they have like the detectors that you would do, like those metal detectors when you come in the building. It's so sad, right? You come in like you do in the airport. We have the metal detectors because they have people bringing knives and guns and so on. And some schools now are buying the vape detectors. Yesterday in a school that I was working in, they had spaghetti dinner, I mean lunch. And I said, "What is this?" You $7. And I said, "What is this for? I want to support it." They said, "Well, the school is, I mean, these teachers are trying to help buy this vape, the vaping the vapor detector, because we have a problem with some students doing vaping in the bathroom." And so they have this detector that could detect if they have been vaping, this stuff. So yeah, things like that happen. I don't know if it's going on in the Philippines, but vaping is a really bad problem here in America right now, because these are kids equivalent to smoking, but they're doing these vapes, and that's not allowed in schools. So you have students that are hiding it in the bathroom. Like when they go to the bathroom, they have these tiles, in the ceiling, and they would hide those things in there. So the SRO, the police in the school, would actually check those tiles and see cell phones, and would see vapes and all this stuff. They're not supposed to bring. Some schools are so strict that they're not supposed to bring their phone at school, or if they do bring it, they have to leave it in their locker, locked and off. And I think they're passing a new law. It may already have passed, that next school year they are not allowed to bring devices to school. And so that's a sad thing, because what if you have an emergency? But I think it either had passed or about to pass, that's going to happen. It became a problem. I mean, kids are like distracted because they're on their device instead of paying attention to the teacher. And then as a teacher, you have to be vigilant to see that your kids are with you. When I'm teaching, I look at everyone. Make sure that every one of them are with me, that they are on the same page with me. So if you're a teacher that does not do that, and that's sometimes, I see that they are just out doing their talk. They don't even know that kids were sleeping. I'm like, I said, I would put on my notes, 3 out of your 8 students were like laying their head down, and I looked, and they were not. If they let their head down, and if they're still doing notes or doing something, that's different, right? But if they're laying down sleeping, totally different story. One of the schools I visited with this kid, and I said, "What's going on? How come you're sleeping? This class is not boring. Why are you sleeping?" I said, "Well, I did not sleep much last night or any, because I was streaming some game stuff." And I'm like, does your mother know that?" So I mentioned it to the teacher when I debriefed with the teacher, and I said, "Are you aware that so and so, did not have sleep because he was streaming? So you may want to contact the parents and to tell them that, because they may not be aware that their child will close their door and then do all that stuff. Like they have their own room most of the time here in America, right? So they would close that door, and the parents do not have any clue what they're doing after the door is closed. And that's why, in a good safety tip that I give parents is that take the device away from them when they go to bed and store it, and then you can give it to them in the morning. But because when they are just so free to have it, and this child will make a bad decision, that's not a good thing. That's why when they say you have a laptop, a desktop for the family, do not put it in a child's room. Put it in a common, like in the living room, where everybody can see. That's much more. That's an internet safety thing that actually is good for the family to have. That kids will have you know access to it, but then it's kind of like you can supervise. The supervision, because it's in a common room. But we have families where they have a desktop, they have their little devices, and they're not having the parental controls. Well, the kids cannot go to some of the sites. They don't have that, or they don't know how to do it. And so you will have that in your classroom here in America, where you have kids that would experience that. So as a teacher, how do you handle that? Well, you need to make sure that you're paying attention to what they're doing. That's why you do not just talk and talk and talk and be bored. I said, take the 10-2 strategy. 10 minutes you talk, now process for 2 minutes. Talk to your partner. TWPS, think, write, pair, share, or TPS, think, pair, share. Talk about it. Now, and I want to know your thinking, and then write about it or whatever. So then you are waking them up, right? And you're engaging them, and you're anchoring that information, because your brain cannot handle too much information. So it has to anchor it, has to chunk them, and it has to like package them, like, okay, this is one chunk that I need to remember, instead of like a bunch of chunks I have to remember. Okay, remember, they can only remember, what did it say? About 4 to 5, and elementary, maybe 2 to 3 chunks at a time. So you have to like let them anchor it in and get them to internalize it before you give them more information. So you do not, that's why you do not just talk for 50 minutes and thinking that the students will remember it. They don't. So you have to chunk them. A lot of times here, we would say, okay, when the students come in, you wait by the door, greet them, talk to them, whatever. And then when they come in, you should already have your screen. A lot of time they have their smart board here. So your smart board should already have your, and get them to get used to this, your bell ringer, for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then they go immediately to it. So you have, if it needs a piece of paper, half a page or whatever, or their notebook, you put it there on the direction, and then they start on it. That's the routine. They come in and they're gonna be, this is a learning zone. I used to say to my students, once you pass by this door, I want you to imagine the word that said learning zone. You are ready to learn. Your visiting is over. You already talked to your friends in the hallway. But once you come in my room, it's the learning zone. Learning's gonna happen here. So you're not be screaming at your friends like, hey, we're gonna see you tonight or whatever. Nope, you're not doing that's not allowed, because then you are disrespecting, your classmates and me, because this is a learning zone. So anyway, so when they do that, then you have the 10 minutes bell ringer. So while they're doing that, and you got them used to this routine, then you can do your housekeeping, I call them. Housekeeping would be getting the rolls, in America, in Arkansas, they have this TAC, teacher, something center, access center. I don't remember what an A is. But anyway, so they have, teacher access center, where you put your attendance very quick. Just check. They're just looking at the names. Do not do the roll like physically calling them. No, that's a waste of time. Just look and through and see, okay, yeah, so-and-so is missing, that. And if you have a big class, and that's why I think I shared before, that assign a student per period to be that attendance person. And I would have a box per period, and they would just put the name of that person that's not there. And so all I have to do is look on the board. And so there's one missing, and there's supposed to be 26. So there should be 25 here. And I see 25. So yeah, one is correct. And said, that's all I do. I do not call them individually. You might do that the first week because you're trying to learn their names. But after that, that's a waste of time. So if I'm observing you and you're doing that, that's a negative thing. I would actually address that. I would actually tell you, what would have been a better way to spend your time instead of calling, students individually. Here, present, all that. That's really, I know in the Philippines, we did that a lot. I remember that. But in America, please don't do that. Okay. Maybe do that the first week, but then get to know them and then do it silently, let them do the work, and then do your lunch count. We have to do a lunch count because it has to be turned in the cafeteria so they know how much food to prepare. So you need to do your lunch count and your attendance. And then after you did that, then you go around and monitor and look and see how they're doing on their bell ringer. Because a bell ringer could be as simple as a little journal thing, or it's something like maybe a sentence or two to respond to something that you're about to do, anticipation chart, maybe a 2 to 3 true and false sentences that would address to your topic, that would eventually be corrected, or misconceptions be corrected during your lesson. So those are KWL questions. You might want them to do different things that you had them to do for 5 to 10 minutes. So that 10 minutes that, and then maybe 20 minutes for your lesson. So there'll be 10 process, or 24. And then at the end would be your exit, your wrap up, and this is a wrap up that I always notice that's not gonna happening with schools. Like they just let it like, oh, time is up. They don't plan. So if you plan, you need to give them time alert. You need to say things like, guys, we have 5 minutes. We have 5 minutes left of class, and we need to do our journal now. 5 minutes. So if they're doing something, and I would say things like, okay, 2 minute alert. You have 2 minutes to finish this. If they're doing a group thing, and I would say, okay, group, I will give you 5 minutes to work on this and see where we are. So if I see that all the groups are still not finished, okay, I'm going to give you 2 more minutes. And then a lot of times on the smart board, I would show the timer, going down so they would see. And that seems to help them focus, because sometimes if you don't do that, they're like, oh, they have all day. They don't have all day. So you kind of have to put the pressure in there. One school that did a social studies teacher that I observed last week, he was doing this generator, this generator wheel. I forgot that. I need to look up the website. But anyway, so this a name generator. I think you can Google this name generator, and then so he put the number, like this wheel here has numbers. So there were 25 students, so he just put 1 to 25, and the students are already assigned their numbers. So he was pushing this wheel, and you can see it on the screen, and boom, number 24. Okay, number 24, so and so they know what the 24 is, and it's your turn. So instead of like getting the popsicle sticks, that's what he's doing. Is the randomness of it, and that's equity. Okay, so that's equity. It's random. They're gonna be called anytime. Anybody can be called, and so they better be alert because that wheel could end up in your name with your number. Okay, and sometimes if you only have one set of students that you don't change, like you are self-contained, you can put their names actually there. But because this teacher has different classes, he'll have 7 periods of students coming in, so he just put numbers. And he said he put the highest number. His highest was 27, so he put 27. Then he would just, if he only has 25 and it hit on 26 or 27, of course he has to respin again. But it's easy as pushing a button in his computer and it does a random thing. So that's pretty cool. And then also the timer when they're doing the activity, and they have these effects on the timer where it will like a bomb explodes or some kind of effect. They love to hear that, to see that. And so they know that, ooh, 10, 9, 8, 7, boom, and so they are so excited to see that. But at the same time, that time alert, you need to remember, always give your students time alert. That's kind of a feeling of safety. Like, I know what's going to happen next. And that goes along with putting your agenda on the board, bullets. Okay, we're going to do bell ringer, first bullet. Next one, we're going to do whatever it is. We're going to do a, presentation or group work or whatever, and you're going to put exit slip is this, exit would be a journal or whatever. So you put 3 bullets or 4 bullets, whatever's happening, and then your kids will know exactly. So if you have 4 different classes, you might have 4 different boxes in your board that you have made, that you will have an agenda for every class. And so when they come in, they'll just look, okay, period 3, this is what we're going to do today. So it's really good for them to know that, okay, we have to do 3 things today. And so what I do with my students is that for early finishers, and they know, they already know that what they're done, they know they can always go to their monthly project. Go to your monthly project and be working on that, because at the end of the month, we're going to be presenting your project. So there's always this something to do instead of just sitting there, because if you don't have an activity for your early finishers, that's when you have classroom management issue, because the idle hands, they're going to be like trying to bother people and, talk or, so that's when it's very important as part of your classroom management to have an activity for your early finishers. Okay, your GT, your gifted and talented kids, we call them GT here. So your GT kids, a lot of times they'll be the first one done. So think about how you're going to differentiate. What are the things that you will challenge them to do? Like, for example, you can say, hey, when you get done with this, I want you to create a rap, create a song or whatever relating to this, and then present it. I have an author's chair, was also like a presenter's chair. So when they get this special chair that swivels like a bar chair, and they love to sit on that, and they always present. Okay, Dr. McCullough, I mean Miss McCullough at the time. Miss McCullough, I have something that I made up, in the publishing center. Can I share? Yes, share. And so they would do that, and we always clap like, yay, a round of applause. So you have to do those validation, having them clap their hands, do different claps of. I know you have lots of different claps that you do, but those make them feel so good, and that is part of, I think, to be anyway, part of to be. Creating a positive classroom culture. It's like you are your students' cheerleaders. So that's one of the standards that you have to meet. Like, am I my students' cheerleader? Biggest cheerleader that I would, encourage them, like, yeah, you can do this or whatever. Let's encourage them. Somebody that's presenting, always clap your hands, always, do things like that to acknowledge that what they did right. So your early finishers, make sure you plan for that. Okay, so Leah, what do you do in your classroom, like kindergartens? That's gonna be a challenge for you. So what do you do if like they're done with something? What do they do? Do they have a, you said learning station or learning centers they can go to? I know you have limited, but is there like like here they could do like a sand, they have like a little bit mini sandbox. They can put their letters on there, different things like that. What do you do?
Oh, yeah. Sadly, that we do not have that, doc. But now Philippines is now trying to practice the 4 differentiated instruction.
Okay.
So yeah, so I give them activities like the four differentiated instructions. As soon as they're done, so the daily routine we have like at the beginning of the classes, we do all the singing, the dancing, the storytelling, and
Nice.
then we proceed to. I sometimes give them a short clip story from the same YouTube. There are so a lot of
Good.
short story about life
Mm.
like values and all those. I think if you
Character
have
education. Mhm.
yeah, character education, if you have seen the short clip or true story about Ian, it's about inclusivity.
Oh,
It's about a boy who, yes, it's just a nice story that
yeah.
I do them. And then
Okay.
we like last week we had we have our activity like diversity and culture.
Nice.
So I shared to them about that story, Ian. It was really a very
Very
short
good. Yeah, it
film
gets it
and a
deeper.
true
Yeah.
story. Yeah, it's
Oh,
a true
wow.
story.
I'll
So,
have to check that
yeah,
out. I have to check that Ian
yeah,
out.
I think
Everybody
it's a
check it
true
out.
story, Doc. It's a
Okay.
nice reflection for the kindergarten, like they
Nice.
have to make friends with people with disabilities and all,
Mhm.
and then
Don't
so
stare and all this stuff. Yeah, not to do. Yeah.
so I prepared I make a create a title of all my activity, like I make a world map and prepared a cut out of hands that it's a world harmony that we can be
Nice.
together to as one, and we can be friends with anyone, like any color and any race.
Good
We can
job.
be, yeah,
Yeah.
we are friends with them. And then I also created prepared them different faces. They have to create a hair in any style they wanted to be like.
Love that.
Yeah, and I also have the I have I inserted an academic lesson, like you have to match this poor guy. Are you going to help them, like
Nice.
with nice clothing? So if they're
Right.
done with their activities, so I think they can consume the 20 minutes activity, and then after which we have our snacks time.
Good job. Yeah.
I'll make it sure that all of us will finish together, then we can pray and eat together, and then
Mhm.
sometimes we I give them a different, like anything that they can play around, and then another session like numeracy time.
Okay. Well, you have to remember, yeah, the prayer part, do not do it in here. We have a separation of
Oh
church and
yeah.
state. So if they
Okay.
pray, it cannot be teacher led. It can be student led if they decide to do that, but it cannot be you leading it. Okay. So it always will be student led. But in order for me to not be in trouble, I would just say there's a separation of church and state. So if you want to do that later with your friends, it's okay, but not in class, because I don't want to get in trouble. And so they know that, but the video inclusion of it is good because especially if you, of course, you watch it ahead of time, right? You don't just pick one and not watch it. And with video, I want to say stay less than 5 minutes. 3 to 4 minutes would be good, but anything above five, it better be really loaded with content and all that. Is something that's really, you really need to have them to see. But if it's like anything 10 minutes, that's going to be harder for them to sustain unless it's really like a story or something that have to be that. But
Yeah.
but that's what I always say to teachers, that try to stick, if it's just something to engage them and it's part of your lesson, 3 to 4 minutes. Try to see a
Yeah.
clip of it. But of course it depends on your function. Some schools here in America are so strict that they have to like have their videos. If they do like a full video, for example, it has to be approved by the principal. So it depends on your principal here. You have to know their leadership style. Some principals have, Hitler leadership style, which is like authoritative. They have to be the boss. They boss everybody around. They're micromanaging their teacher. The teachers are miserable because they're always being micromanaged. That is the poorest leadership style. And the best leadership style is a servant leader. I try to be that, and a collaborative leader where you serve. You are here to serve. You're not here to be served. You're here to serve everyone. But then if you're going to want idea, you collaborate. You are not, nobody died and made you boss. It's like, this is our school. This is our, place. So we are going to be having our ideas going to be valued, and I want to listen to it. and we'll talk about it. But that's something that a collaborative leader should, aspire to. But you'll see that a new leader sometimes could default to an authoritative leader because they don't know. They don't know any better, so they don't do better. So then later on, they said, that did not work. But sometimes it's just their personality. That's the kind of person that they're bossy. They're demanding. They're doing this in their life, and they're doing that in the school or the classroom now. And I just see that it's a very poor leadership style. It's not going to work at all because when you do it with students in America, they don't like that. They don't like teachers that would like just boss them around. You have to treat them like you respected, adults in short, in small pants, like, they just, they are just like little adults, really, especially in high school, middle school. They really want to be heard. They want to be respected, and you do not demand respect, you earn it. Just like you don't demand trust, you have to earn that trust from them, which means that you have to shape that, form that positive relationship with them so that you feel good about you and they can share with you. Because otherwise they won't trust you. They won't share anything with you because you're being bossy. That's why I would always would share that or not are the two words that I always say, or not. That way they have a choice. My husband would laugh about it because I said, okay, dear, let's do this or not. Although I really want to do it, but make him know that there is an option. It's not like we have to do this, do this. You do have a say if you don't want to do it or not. Give me an option. Give me something else that we could do, and all this. But I think, that's a personal choice or a personal preference or just you thing. And so to improve is to learn like more of a Jesus Christ leadership, where he would wash the feet of his disciples and everybody. And he was just very humble. And I think that's the kind of leadership that I try to aspire to. That I'm not too good to like do anything. I do not assign my teachers when I was an administrator to something that I will never do. It's something that I would do. Let's do this. Okay, I'll do it too. Students, same way. It's something that we can do together. It's not something that I'm just gonna boss you around, but I don't want to do that. So if you're gonna do some volunteer work, yes, you are gonna be doing there. If you're gonna be sweeping the older people's yards because they have so much leaves and then they can't do it, then let's go take our volunteer, students and we'll go do that. You do it too. You do not just go down there and just start, being the supervisor. I was always hands-on. I'm always doing what is supposed to be done. So anyway, do you do that in your classroom, Leah? You'll get in there and just kind of be a part of whatever is going on. Is that what you do?
Yes.
Like sit down on their level, maybe? I do that a lot.
Oh, well, for per experience, Doc, I can say that I have done something really good to my students because when they reach grade one, they come back to you, and when they do good in their class in their new teacher, they go back to your classroom and bring the test paper and tell you,
Oh,
teacher,
that's
I
so
got
cool.
this.
I love that.
Oh, you see,
So
you see,
good.
so sometimes I told myself I have done something good to this kid because he comes back to you and tell
Yeah.
you that he's doing good in the class.
Yes.
Even now, Doc, that is the I think the gift of being a teacher. Even if they are now grown ups, they can still remember
Oh
you.
yeah, they do.
And
You're always gonna be that teacher. It don't,
so
that's to
maybe
me. Yeah.
maybe I have done something like a mother like to them. Although I
Yeah.
have no child, but I think being a mother, it's always it's an instinct.
It is. I think it is. When there's a fiesta here in August, usually July, August, it's like a fiesta here. They call them a fair here in America. And oh my gosh, my students, some of them are like 6 footer. And I had them in elementary possibly, or even high school, eighth grader, and they just give you a big old Miss McCullough, a big hug. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my husband's gonna say, okay, who is this? Who is this man hugging you? But I said, oh, let's do a side hug. Although a side hug is much more, it's much to me much better. It's like not just like, but some of them when they have not seen you for years, they just really want a big hug. And of course, I just pat them and all that, like, oh, how's life now doing? Of course, you have to look up. You almost have to say, what's the weather up there? They're so tall. But yeah, whenever you have students come back to you, that's always a good sign. I see Maria in her classroom, the kids that are now that she had 2 years ago or a year ago, they would come back to her and would say, "Can I just stay here? Is that okay if I stay here?" That's a compliment, really. That you have formed that relationship and
Yes,
they feel
that's
good about, coming to
we
you.
we
And
deal
they would say,
we try to
huh?
deal with the kids like your friends,
Yeah.
but you see the boss, I'm the
But there is,
boss.
yeah, there
Your
is a line.
friends,
There's a very thin line there. You cannot do the friendship thing. Yeah. There's a very thin line there that you have to make
yeah,
sure
thin
it's there.
line,
Yeah.
but still you're fair but
Yeah.
firm in everything that
That's
you
right.
do.
That's right.
Maybe that's the my how do I call this my philosophy. I think that it's part of my philosophy that I
Yeah.
can be their friend but firm and fair.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why maybe when they left, when they go to grade one and then maybe move to another grade level, they do not forget and visit you
Yeah.
at any time of the day.
Elementary, really good, but high school and middle school, be careful about that because they really, I guess you really need to make sure that there is that line because they could be, if you're so laid back, they're like, yeah, we're friends, whatever, you buddy buddy with them, then they will not have that respect. They think that they could just cross that boundary and that they keep testing that boundaries where they could get away with, and they're gonna keep testing that because you're friends. She will not get mad. She will just, and they will to abuse your kindness. So you have to have that good balance, especially middle school and high school. Elementary, they're still so sweet. They'll do what you say, but once you start to hit fifth grade and up, sixth grade and up, you need to be careful because they will, some of them, not all, but some of them will really abuse it and take care of it. And that's when I would say they're gonna eat your lunch. They're gonna be like taking advantage of it. And you don't want that because your first week, your first month as a teacher here in America, you're pretty much establishing yourself and your reputation. And then they say, that teacher is so easy. You can just like do whatever in that room. And then so you will see students that are misbehaving in your classroom but behaving in somewhere else because they think that your expectation is lower than the others because she's so laid back, she will just not do anything, or she would just tell you to stop but she doesn't really follow through. She doesn't like, like, oh, well, now you did not stop, so you're gonna be, this one will happen next, this is the consequence. I might write it down, put a warning, I might be calling your parents. Whatever the discipline policy is, follow that. Because if you just continue to say stop, 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 and nothing happens, and you continue to just say stop, if I'm watching you and I'm observing you as administrator, you're going to have low score on that because if I'm watching a teacher and students are misbehaving, you can still get a high rating if the students stop the behavior. Okay, so make sure that they stop the behavior. Otherwise, you're going to be rated low. And also, I'm watching about how students treat each other. So if the students are respecting each other, respect and rapport, that's 2A. If you have that respect and rapport, then you have established that, and I could see the students saying, "Oh, good job! Excellent work. I love the way you do." They emulate what you do. And so you can see, like, if the teacher is so grumpy and so awful and mean and negative to their students, you'll see kids doing the same thing to each other. They will just mirror what you do. So that's why, to me, as an administrator, as an observer, I would always kind of reflect on that. So, why is this going on? Why are the kids so mean and negative to each other? Is this the classroom culture that has been established? Because you cannot have that kind of culture at all. And in order for that to happen, you have to model that. You have to show that relationship that I'm kind to you. So this expectation is you're going to be kind to each other, right? Because if I'm mean to you, then they're going to be mean to the others also. Although we have bad days sometimes, but still, I would never take it out on my kids. They would never know that my husband and I may have fought that morning or that night. Never. They would never know that because I'm going to be me. And if I take care of my personal business when I do it at home, but I'm not going to be bringing it to school and take it out on my kids. And that happens. Some people cannot make that little box that, like, this is my home box, my home life, and this is my personal box or my professional box here. So I think as teachers, we need to remember that, right? Okay. So Leah, any last comment? Because I'm going to call somebody else. So what nuggets did you get from that? That's
Yeah,
something that
it's
you
a
may
it's
wanna.
a it's a great reminder, Doc, that there should be a gap, not too much closeness, but teacher is always, for me, I think teacher should be in a command. You can, I mean, you can be friends, but still the command is yours to follow. So
Yeah. Well, I
that's
don't know
it.
if it's command. It's like maybe like respect thing, possibly.
Oh yeah.
That there's a mutual respect. Because if you stay hard command, it's more of the authoritative leadership style. That's a
I
Hitler
see.
style.
Okay.
And you don't, I'm
Yeah.
sure you don't want to be a Hitler style authoritative. You want to be collaborative. So we have this mutual respect. The students, I respect you, and I earn that respect from you. I don't demand it from you,
Yes, yes,
but
that's right.
yeah,
Yeah, that
we earn that
you
from each other.
explained it
Yeah.
right.
So yeah, that's good. Just don't use the word command because it makes me it reminds me of a Hitler
Yeah,
style.
thank you, Doc. Okay.
Thank you
Yes,
so
Doc.
much, Leah. I appreciate it. I
Yeah,
really
thank
enjoyed
you,
talking
Doc.
to you like I did with Debbie and John.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you. Okay, so Debbie, who do you want to call next? We'll put some people on the spot. Good job, good job. Really great ideas there, Leah. So
Miss Glorifa was raising her hand a while ago, doctor,
who?
and maybe she wants Miss Glory
Glory
Fe.
Faye. Oh, Glory Faye is one of our West Memphis 13. So Glory Faye, you have anything new for us? She is in St.
Hi,
Louis,
Doc.
Missouri?
No, I'm in Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas. I always forget. I'm telling you, I
Yeah.
forget where you all are. But Houston, Texas. Yeah, you are with Betsy. You say Betsy's in your same school as you?
Yes, we are on the same district
Yeah. Okay.
with Miss
I need to
Betsy.
contact Betsy. I think she was trying to get a hold of me, and I had problems with my phone last night. But there was a missed call from her. So if you
Mm-hmm.
see her, tell her that I didn't, that I had problems with my phone. But I did
Okay,
see
Doc.
it this morning. Yeah.
I just saw her during our district training, and we just thought, oh, were you able to attend the Zoom meeting with Dr. Melina? And these days we're just surviving, Doc. So that's
Oh
why
no,
this
what's going
the
on?
yeah.
What's going on in
Um
Houston? It's a big
um
city.
yes, ma'am. I just want to share, Doc, about regarding the threshold that you were talking about, like when students enter your classroom, it's already a learning zone.
Yeah.
Um, Here in our district, we have the strategies that we call like teach like a champion. Like we
That's a book.
follow this one. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Doc. We follow this one whenever the kids enter the classroom. Automatically they would give their phone. They would do their do now,
Mm-hmm.
and then you automatically do your routine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's what we do in our district. And you also mentioned about randomization, like instead of having the popsicle sticks, we in my classroom I use the wheel of names to call
Love
students.
that.
I would
Mhm.
give them like an excitement feeling, like okay, am I being am I the person to be called today to do the talking. And we also do the ABBA strategy wherein we get the students to talk to each other, like partner A talks with partner B. And I want to also share how I catch the students' attention. I also got this from a training where I use a chime and then
Mm-hmm.
I ring it.
I love that.
Yeah.
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 Mm.
I ring it and then, okay, raise your hand if you no longer hear the sound.
Yeah.
And they will automatically silent.
Yeah.
They were like, then I would say, oh, they would say, oh, because we had our topic about nervous system right now, and they would say, your nervous system is not working well. You're not raising your hand. The kids are like doing
I
that.
love that.
And yeah,
I
they
love
they would
that.
I would easily catch the students' attention by using that.
Yeah.
And also the gallery walk is very effective in my classroom. I always make sure that they stand. If not, they would fall asleep in my class. And also the radar thing. Like in the classroom, I always see to it that I know what my students are doing. Because I have
Always.
a big classroom, though, because I have laboratory
Mm-hmm.
set up. So it would be like I'm a small teacher. So I need to really move around
Yeah.
and try to look at if they're trying to, get asleep
Mm-hmm.
or they're not listening. So radar is very important in the
Yeah.
classroom.
They
especially
call
in the
that
US.
proximity. They call that
Yes, Doc.
proximity. Yeah.
Yes.
So you are in proximity of the students
Mm-hmm.
because some of them they will, some teachers, and I make a note on this when I observe, some teacher would stand in one area and that's it. They don't go around. So I would always make a note on that. Like, you stayed in the right side of the room the whole time. Try to be, in the left side too, and in the middle, try to be all over. That's why, I think I shared before that I put my four stinkers, my four misbehaved kids on the corner. It's like a fence because it makes me go to each end. You have to
Mm-hmm.
go and kind of self-deploy myself because otherwise it's comfortable to go, closer to your desk, for example. So very good job. I like the proximity that you have. So you must not have very many or any at all behavior issues then, right? You don't have very,
Mm, I
no.
have a lot, Doc, because my place is near in a poverty area.
Mm-hmm,
So my kids are, maybe stressed in their house. So
mm-hmm.
whenever they are in school, I have like behaviors like that. But I always make sure that, as what you've told us, though, that this classroom is a safe place for everybody.
Yeah.
Like it takes time for me to establish that kind of relationship with my kid. You remember the first time when I got here and then we had a Zoom meeting, like, talk.
You were so
I
stressed
am
out.
struggling. Was crying out like, oh, I was struggling because the behavior itself of the students, I was shocked. I was having a culture shock with the classroom culture,
Yeah,
the
very
behavior of
normal.
the students.
Very normal.
Yes, I cried. So no one, I think, did not cry with their first three
Yeah.
to four months
Not
here.
very many at all that do
Mm-hmm.
not cry. They usually, because it's the
Mm-hmm.
culture shock, like you said, because
Yes,
it is
though.
very different, like night and day to what you
Mm-hmm.
experience in the Philippines, very, and you don't really know it until you get there. You can
Yes.
say that all day long in our Zoom, but until you get there and experience, like, oh, this is what she meant.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they meant by this. Yeah, it's
Yes.
not just a bed of roses, I tell you. Yeah.
But good thing now I get to establish the relationship with my students. Like they know that I always appreciate everything that they do in the
Good job.
classroom, that I always recognize them. I always do clapping.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing that I all memorize their name. I
Oh,
all
good.
memorize their name. I
Good job.
always call them with their first name. So they would
Nice.
know like, oh, Mrs. Bennett knows me. And then I know that every time they get the master level, they get the meets level, I always I have a growth tracker look like, okay, this is your eighth grade data. Okay, my goal for you is to go higher. And I want to share that I am able to grow
Reach
my
it.
kids
Yeah.
from did not meet. I am now growing them from meets and masters. So I was
Nice.
so happy with our star. We have the star test here in Texas, and we did the star rehearsal test and looking at how my kids grew from being did not meet in eighth grade. So I was like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
doing right.
It's
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
it's a
doing
self
something good.
thing. It's a
Yeah.
more of a, progress for you too. But don't forget to also have kids set their own goals. That's
Yes, sir.
very
Yes, sir.
powerful when you have
Mm-hmm.
the kids set goals. So, for example, they have their formative testing. They have testing so many times a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I had my kids have the assessment binder or notebook, and then
Mm-hmm.
they would have copies of the results. And then we have
Nice.
this yeah, they have this conversation individually with them. Okay, read score, for example, this is what you are. 221 is supposed to be where you're supposed to be. And right now you're on 218. So you're three away
Mm-hmm.
from the thing, and it's gonna raise next year. So I want you to set your goals. Next time when we talk, it's gonna be this amount. So you're three away. Are you gonna be, so they're always gonna try to reach that one or even over, but don't make it too crazy that you're not gonna meet it. But I always had students set a goal. And then
Mm-hmm.
so they have to
I
have like a
had that
little
one.
reflection there. It's like I reflected that. I think I didn't do very, very well because I was tired that day or I didn't do my best or whatever. But next time I'm gonna do this. So they have this little reflection, but also setting goals. And to me that works. I know it's gonna take time, but it's very quick. And you
Mm-hmm.
just make into the habit of every time we have a test, we're going to talk about it. And that way they see the value of the test and they don't see it like a waste of time. And that's when I hear, as an former administrator, when I hear teachers saying, "Ah, we're doing this test and it's just a waste of time." And I said, You know what
Mhm.
that tells me? That you're not using the result of the test. Because if you're
Okay.
using the result of the test, that means you see the value of it and you don't gripe about it like that. So let me help you, see what we can do to have you use the test, use the result. And that way it's part of our teaching. We have the teaching cycle and we have the reflection and then we have to assess. You have to
Mm-hmm.
know where you're going, right? And
Yes,
so
though.
anyway, so I won a bunch of them over because a bunch of them were not using the data. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why, being a science teacher, you use the data, math teacher, use the data. But some of our literacy folks, we're not numbers, we're like letters people. Yeah. And so we have to cross them over. Like, yeah, these numbers are important. I know this is the math people thing, but it's how you know where your kids are. And so you're really learning as a teacher too, right? Yeah,
Yes,
because here
yes, though.
I was, very, at first I was not confident as a teacher because I just came to America. And how many months do you have now? A year now?
No, though. We're like 6 months
When did
because
you get
we
October?
arrived here last July.
July. So that's July to July is another seven. So this is five. So yeah, 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know.
So yeah,
So I'm really
eight
learning
months.
and
Eight
I'm
months.
really cherishing all the strategies, the learning that I taught here so that when I go back to the Philippines, I can also share it with
Yeah.
my other teachers.
Good job. You journal? Are you journaling? I hope you are. Yeah.
I am though.
Yeah, I'm
I
journaling.
write
I'm doing it digital. So I have a daily, I have a thing, and the pen. There's an app for journals, and I used to use it, but I did not. Now I just do them in my notes on my phone. So I do a daily, MM diary, MM journal, and I put that in one, two, three. I just put in order, and I put the date because I am journaling things for like because I work
Mhm.
in schools a lot, and so I would say things like what I need to do with each teacher, for example. So when I come back, I need to look at my notes and say, okay, what did I do, all this, and then things that I need to suggest or show, so but then also in the bottom I do my personal things. I would do, okay, this is now my weight, my goal is this. And then Dwayne and I were doing this, so I would have my professional and my personal. And then I even put like my, sometimes I put my credit score because I'm working on my credit score because I keep forgetting to pay my thing because I'm so busy. And so now I'm trying to build it. It takes about 6 months to rebuild it. So I'm like following what the score is data wise. And then some goals, something, oh, I need to see my mom today. I need to, schedule wise things I'm looking forward to. So I put that in the very end. So I have this little category in my journal that I would write. So I look back, I'm like, why did I take notes of that? And so sometimes I have to remind myself, like, call your brothers in the Philippines. I don't talk to them often. Usually we talk like on occasions, or sometimes somebody dies and they're like, oh, Anthony, my mom's brother just died. So they called. Of course, we send them money and all that to take it over to the family. But it seems like there's only occasions. Some people here, I know of some teachers here that would talk to their family every single day in the Philippines. Well, I'm not that. So I get too much of a busy life. But they know that if I really need to talk to them, they're there. Same way here. They just have to remember the time difference because a lot of time they'd wake me up in the middle of the night. I'm like, you forgot about the time difference. Oh, sorry. Because you want to talk to someone and you forget, like, oh, they're on the other side of the world. They're supposed to be, they're already, 10 hours before us. I think it's 13 hours ahead. Is that what it is now? And in daylight, it's gonna be 12. How does that work now, Miss Science teacher? What? So like when you
Yeah,
call
we'll be
your
turning
family,
back the time this Sunday though.
so it's
We
now
used
like right now, what
one
time
hour.
is in the Philippines now?
It's 7 in the no no 11 in the evening.
Okay, so it's what? So my phone is dead. So it's how? Oh, so it's 9 here. Okay, so it's 2 hours more. Like so, it's about 14
Mhm. But
hours,
on Sunday it will turn 1
13
hour.
hours.
Yes.
13 hours. Okay. Because I have to remember that it's gonna be I always start at 7 o'clock in the morning here. So right now it's 7 o'clock in the morning here, 9 o'clock there. But if I start at 7 starting next 2 weeks from now, it's gonna be only 8 o'clock there. But it's okay because if people will come in at 9, there's always somebody early, and I get to talk more about that. So it's okay, no big deal. Because in this Zoom, as you know, you can just come in and out, don't matter. I'm not expecting to stay the whole so many hours. Stay as long as you want or as little as you want because it's gonna be recorded. Okay, some of you, you're so nice to say, I have to leave, do this. Oh, yeah, life happens. Don't worry about it. I would never take offense. I would never take offense that you did not stay for so many minutes. I don't, because it's recorded. You're gonna be able to see this, So no big deal at all. So, but Glory Faye, you're so awesome, and John to always attend and so on. Who else are here from the West
Mom
Memphis?
Mirna is here.
Hi, my Myrna. You did not say hi to us. Thank you again
Yes,
so
I
much for sharing about Houston. Okay, Miss
I
Myrna,
went to
Lee County in Arkansas.
Hi, ma'am. I'm
Hey, how are
good.
you, Myrna? You still enjoying your
Good.
house?
Getting
Yeah,
better. We're still waiting for you here, and we're
I know.
still waiting for the time again for to visit. I hope because the last time there was a bad weather forecast, so we did not
Yeah,
go to
I
the
think
place.
either after spring break, I think the first week, like April 3rd, I think that's my last visit to Brinkley. So
Mhm.
April 2nd, I will be heading that way, and April 3rd, I'll be working there. So April 2nd, possibly, if we can see each other, maybe. But I won't
Sure,
promise
sure,
until I
sure.
get closer. Yeah.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
anyway, but
So,
that's my last day with them. I have some schools that are wanting me to do some training for the summer. I mean, for May in order to get ready for the summer. But other than that, I have like three or four different commitments in April, and that's all. But March is like one day off. That's it. So yeah. So it's a pretty busy, but which is good. Good busy. But so what's going on in Lee County?
so far we're good. This coming week, we will have our interim exam.
Okay.
So preparing for that and hoping and praying that students will really um, have that interest or motivation to take the exam, because the last time we had the review, they were saying, oh, Miss Mirna, it's too long to read, we don't have the patience to read, and then they said then
Mm,
you have to. So and then I said it's okay, come on, that just may help you and that. But one thing that I am so happy is that now that we have more on hands-on activities, that
mm-hmm.
students would always say, hey, Miss Mirna, we're going to have it again. Miss Mirna, what
So
about tomorrow?
excited.
What are we going to have? Yes, ma'am. Especially that if you notice that I keep posting electromagnetic field.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's nice because I have this virtual simulation. We have the written report, and they do it in actual. But just the last time they said, Miss Mirna, can you please stop talking? Let's just let us do the work. Anyway, the steps are on the board.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe they're already annoyed with my loud voice. And they
Good.
said, but can I not accept? But no, Miss Mirna, it's already on the board. And then, okay, are you sure? And then they say, oh, Miss Mirna, the board is so hot. Had you listened to me, that it won't happen to you.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing, though. It tells me a lot that your kids feel safe to be able to express that to you, that they're not afraid of you and they're not intimidated by you. And they feel like, yeah, I can tell her and it's fine. And that's a good
Yeah,
thing, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Sounds like you're
yes,
doing an amazing job. I think I heard people bragging about you. So, and the kids love you.
thank
So,
you so much for that.
yeah, that's
Thank
yeah,
you so
that's
much for
always a
that.
good thing when you hear that. Same thing with Joel, your husband in
Yes.
Berkeley. He's doing
Yeah.
a really good job there. Yeah, we
One
like
thing
with
I
the students.
appreciate with the students is that they said, Miss Mina, can I tell you something? This is not to offend you. Please don't get mad at me. And uh, could you please? And then I said, don't worry. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I am not offended. And it's okay. It's fine with me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's good. I love it when they would preface it like that because one of the high school students like, I don't want to make any offense, but when are you due? Are you pregnant? Like, oh my gosh, So I just came from a buffet in Chinese. I was like, oh my gosh, so full. And I said, okay, I can take it both ways. I could either take it as a compliment that you think I'm young enough to have a child, or I could take it as an insult that, oh my gosh, you ate too much and you're fat. So I said, so I'm gonna take it the positive way. You are giving me a compliment that I'm so young enough that I could have a child. There's your positive mindset and your fixed mindset. But yeah, it's you just kind of make you make it funny. You do not just want to insult them, and they very much respect you to tell you that. So I would just like, if it's something just really an insult, I would just say, I love you too. Which is like, should you say that? Yeah, because when somebody insults me, I was just like, well, I love you too. Thank you very much. And so just like when technology does not work, you need to tell your students, let's clap our hands. Let's clap our hands because on your participants, because if you are so stressed out, oh my gosh, this technology is not working. That's why you have to have a plan B. So I'm very calm because I know when I do a big presentation like in Little Rock, I usually have presentations there on the conference. And so I would always have the hard copy because if that technology does not work and I have my little note, page on my PowerPoint, I just start handing them out. And I said, okay, the technology is not working. So this is what I'm planning to do. This is what we're doing. So of course, a lot of my things are hands-on anyway. So I have all the materials ready. And so, okay, let's do this. We don't have to have that. You got a copy of it in your hand. So as a teacher, I think when you have a plan B, which I bet you do, and that helps a lot. Yeah. And the students, and I think this is a thing with us high school teachers. I'm both elementary and high school and of course college. I think sometimes we catch ourselves kind of giving too much direction, and the smarter the children are, like both of my kids, that humble bragging here, that both of my kids were GT, gifted and talented, right? And I always almost like insulted them, like, Mom, you have to explain that much. I can figure this out, kind of type thing, And so I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I didn't mean to be, But we tend to do that because we're trying to be thoughtful that, okay, we want them to get it. But the smarter they are, the more like the independent they have. They don't want to be told. So I bet those kids that were saying that to you, Myrna, they are your high kids, right? They can figure it out, right? And
Yes,
so
Doc.
raising children that are gifted or teaching children that are gifted is a challenging thing for us because we have we try to teach to the middle, right? Because you got your high, your low, and you got your middle. So a lot of them are in the middle. So you try to teach that way. So then if you are going to be too fast, your low may be left behind. But if you're just giving too much direction, your high may be frustrated. Like, why is she telling me all this? Is she insulting my intelligence? And so I have to feel that because whenever I was doing the teaching coaching model yesterday, the teacher was saying like, how the pace that you're doing my students were a little faster than what I would have done because I think I catch myself repeating all the time. And I think you taught them like you would have college or adults or whatever, you really, I think your standards were higher than mine. And I'm like, so I was reflecting. I'm saying, so does that mean I went too fast? Is that right? I mean, did I do that? He said, oh, no. I just think I spoon feed them. I do a lot of spoon feeding to my children. And so I started sharing with them that what I learned from one country that I visited was, I don't want to mention the country, but the eighth graders, seventh grader, they were eating lunch and some parents were coming in and you know what they were doing? The mothers, they were spoon feeding the kids, seventh and eighth graders. And I'm like, oh my gosh, in America, this is the time when they would say, don't say hi to me, Ma. I don't know you. I don't know you. Because that's when they are so cool with their friends and their friends are their family. But these kids are being spoon fed by their mothers at school, every single day. And I'm like, and that's part of their culture. It is acceptable in their culture. And I'm like, so, again, cultural, your cultural information and things that So same thing with you. You are now learning about the American culture and what you do in what you did in the Philippines or Qatar. Or were you in Qatar or Saudi
But
Arabia?
in
Qatar.
Qatar,
Yeah.
Doc,
Maybe
Qatar.
different than what you've done. Do you catch yourself doing that? Give me some
Yes, yes.
examples.
Um, um, I in because in Qatar, because it's a private school and students really are, but anyway, the one thing that struck me most, Doc Marlene, is also yesterday, because I was busy roaming around. Yeah, you're correct. And say try to go to every corner of the classroom. There was a student who said, he's some great, and he said, Miss Mirna, from the time we enter the classroom, we never see you sit down. We never see you stop at a single point. You have so much energy that you keep roaming around. And I told them, yes, because I drank Milo.
You did what?
Milo. Milo gives me energy every day.
You're sharing our culture with them.
Yes,
Like chocolate
and
malt.
then from that thing of used to be students say, Miss Mira, come here, I need your help. From to this, Miss Mirna, would you be kind enough to
Oh,
help me?
good job.
And
Yeah.
and I said at the back of my mind, I said, Lord, this is one of the answered prayers that I have.
Yeah, well, you modeled it, obviously. That's a respect thing, and you have respected them, and they just like gave it back to you. And that's a pat in the back for you. Good job. Because you have, they emulate the teacher, I tell you. They're just like a little parrot, they would emulate what you do. So you be careful what you do. You always say, do what I say, but not what I do. But you have to do what you do. It doesn't matter what you say sometimes. It's what you do that would be followed by them, right? Did you
Yes,
catch yourself, seeing that?
yes, yes, Doc. And then again, because you remember what during my interview, I would always say, I am a science teacher, and one of my principles is that to see is to believe. So I don't just teach them on the board. I don't just see them the video, show them to them the videos and the drawings as much as possible. I really will try to get some resources to prove to them that really it works and they learn from it.
Yep, you
They
got you
learn
got
from
the
it.
credible sources. Yeah, good job. And so it sounds like you're making science really fun for them, and that they're gonna
Hope, I
remember that.
hopefully, Doc. Hopefully, hopefully.
I always say that, when you teach science, you want to teach like a scientist. Yeah, you pretend like they're scientists. Just like when you teach math, they're mathematicians. So when I'm teaching them literacy, they are my readers and my writers. So they are in real world, they could be authors. So when I talk to them about writing, I would say things like, they said, "Oh, do I have to put my title?" And I'm like, "Do you know that in real life, most authors, and I've read a lot of biographies, that they actually would come up with their title at the very end, because that could change their story. So at the end, they would actually keep changing their title, and they won't finalize their title until the very end, because they know the whole story. So they might have a working title, they would call it. So for you, for the writing, I told students this, for you, for your writing, you can put a little temporary title there if you have to, but you don't really have to. For the big summative test, for the state test, you don't have to have a title. But you just need to not waste time thinking about a title. You get to it, get to the meat. And then maybe if you really feel like you have time to put the title, put it at the end, or not, but yeah, do that. So but yeah, I think when you're teaching different content like you do with science, and you're making it like they are scientists, because they are, they're processing that information and they're discovering something, right? Do you start with like an essential kind of question that they have, discovery
Yes, yes,
question?
yes, yes, Doc. We always have this question on the board that makes them think. They will have the train and talk. I will post a question on the board, and then they will have the train and talk for 5 to 4 minutes, and then
Yeah.
there's a sharing, and then after that, we try. Okay, but Miss Mirna, they would have, aside from the question they posted on the board, they will say, "But Miss Mirna, what if, what if, what if?" And then it's okay, and that's what we're going to find out today. And
Very
then
good.
that goes,
Very
that goes
good.
to
That's good. The what if part, that's higher level. Yeah, good job. Yeah,
yes,
I like
yes,
that. And
yes.
having that essential question, by the way, guys, when you come to America, always have that essential question, because that kind of guides you on what they should be learning. So I would look for essential question, because that essential question might last for a day. Sometimes it could last for the whole week. But essential question plus your objectives, what they're supposed to be learning, post that, because in at least in Arkansas, that's one of the expectation, is that when we come in the classroom, we see your agenda and we see your objectives and maybe essential question. And then you start with that. So when you open your classroom, okay, good morning, class, all that. This is today we're going to be learning this, and this, and all that. And so, then you start opening your lesson. And then at the end, then you would wrap it up by saying, okay, for exit slip, let's check out first and see if we've met our goals. Remember the beginning of class, we said this, and this. Let's check it off. Okay, this one, yes. Oh, looks like we did not do the last part. So tomorrow, the next time I meet with you, we're gonna make sure that we address this particular goal that we did not meet. So you have that like beginning, and then you have the little neat packaging at the end where you are finishing it, right? But see, that takes a very organized teacher, because you have really timed yourself, and you did not just run out. Okay, bye. And I'm telling you, that's my weakness, and I've always a lot of times had done that. So that's why I made myself have a timer, a timekeeper, that it will time, before we do our journal for the ending. Otherwise, it won't get done. So I have to have that timer so that, okay, now it's time for exit, and you're going to be writing your journal. And as you are writing, I'm going to go around and read, so I kind of know what they're saying, things like that. And, there's always a question of like, how do you possibly look or grade those journals? And I'm like, well, you have to like divide it. Like, for example, if you have 50 students so if you have 50 students, so you might want to do like, there's 5 days a week, you might want to just do 10 a day. Your group one, group two, whatever. You have to think of it that way, because otherwise, if you're gonna try to read everything, it's gonna be too much. So you're gonna do your so many things. Your GT kids, you might just like see it once a week. I mean, very not often. But the kids that are in my four corners of the room, I always look at theirs. And then of course the others, I'll just let them, my assistant, we call them teacher assistant, or my mentors, to just stamp it. Just I have a little stamping thing, that I have. So just stamp it. That means it's been acknowledged that it was done, But then the other, I will see it at least once a week. But then 2 or 3 times a week, or maybe 5 times a week for those that struggled, and I'm really trying to get them up. So that's how I handle my journal. So, and I do grade, I do give points. They won't value it unless you give points. So, but I will tell them that. And I said, well, hi, by the way, this is 5 points, this is 10 points, whatever. So they will try hard, because I would tell them this, in order to get your 10, these are the things that you're going to have to do, this, and this. So they have to meet that. So we change your
Yes.
rubric.
Yeah.
So anyway, so
Because they can see they can see their grades in the system and say, Miss Miriam, let me see, where am I now? How many points do I need to get into B, to get into C?
yeah. So they're goal setting, yeah. So how often do you post your grades? Do you do it like 5 week time, like progress report stuff?
Is it for 9 weeks? But we have it in the system that we can publish
Access
it
it.
so that the parents could see the scores of the
Yeah.
quizzes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Doc.
Yeah, the hack, right? The home
Yeah,
access
yeah.
center, yeah. And some parents have access it, some people don't. But it's good. In Arkansas, we're very transparent about it. They do see it. And so most schools would actually ask teachers to like have at least 2 grades a week. Some of them would say 3 days a week. They're not going to expect you to do a grade each day. Not very many schools, not that I know of anyway. Because if you have at least two grades a week, that's a good thing. At least you show progress. So anyway, some teachers do a daily one, and that's too stressful, I think, to do that. How often do you put grades in, Myrna?
Two in a week, Doc. Two in a
Yeah.
week.
I think that's very common to do 2 a week. That
Yes.
way, one a week is too little, I think. And so having that immediate feedback, so that you have to have a deadline for yourself. Like, I need to get this graded so I can put the grades immediately. And as a literacy teacher, you know how you have essays to grade. I got so fast at grading it that and now we have apps anyway. So if they type it, most of the kids have their own Chromebook. They usually have a one-to-one, one computer per one for each child. So like in the class I did yesterday, they typed the essay, and they shared it with their teacher in the Google Classroom, attach it there. And then we looked at it, and then I start sample grading with the teacher. This is like similar to what the Atlas or the big test in Arkansas would do. For example, the purpose, focus, and organization, PFO. We're looking at that first, and then, do they have introduction? Do they have conclusion? Did they have a claim, a counterclaim? And then, so they have transition, for example. So that's PFO. And then the EE is elaborations and explanations. So did they take the text from the evidence? And this is with you, Myrna. There's text from, some evidence from the text. Is there something that the expert said, researcher said, or some organization, or, university? Those credible sources and text, you need to have those. And then after you take those, then you explain it. So a lot of times they just be taking it, and then no explanation. So they don't process it. Then you're not going to get the full points. And then the last part is convention. So there are only 3 things that we look for. And that's actually in the state test for literacy. Is the PFO, purpose, focus, organization, and then elaboration and explanations, and then conventions. So there's 4 points, 4 points, 2 points. So 10. And then the thing is with that is, how do we translate it into percentage? Because if they only get 4, that's 40. Are you going to have everybody, fail? Well, you have to like see a multiplier or something, make it in pieces and see, assign, points within the subcategories of it and then come up with it. So I was working with a teacher. Maybe you have to do some curving, like, a 40 really, maybe a 70 if this was really a classroom. So maybe you can add 30 to everybody. So if you add 30 to one, you have to add to everybody and you're curving, but it's okay, but you're not failing everyone because it's the way that's graded. So yeah. So how do you translate it, Myrna? How do you do you have some self grading or something that they do self-reflection?
I have it divided by the total score, but yeah, yes, I would have a common multiplier for them.
Yeah.
But when you see the effort, but the effort is really not good enough to make up for the passing score, then I would have to make a multiplier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
they
then I
have
would also,
effort. And then a lot of times, of course, the rule is you do not punish them for their behavior. You cannot get points off because they misbehave. Nope, that's a big no-no. And
exactly,
then
Dr.
yeah, right? That's a big no-no. And then for homework, usually you cannot do more than 10% for the homework part. Because a lot of times, really, that's not a true indication anyway, because a lot of times parents may be the one doing it or really helping too much. So 10% is all that I would give for this. So if there are 100 points, only 10 points can be that homework thing, because that's not, it's supposed to be more of a reinforcement of what I've already heard, or already learned. So it's like an extra practice for you, because I have already explained it. I just want you to have an extra practice. So I'm assigning this to you. And the rule for homework is that about, what did it say? About 5 minutes per grade. So you have a kindergarten would have, well, usually no homework, but first grade would have 5 minutes, and 10 minutes for second. And if you, no, I mean, 10 minutes, not five. So 10 minutes for first grade, 20 minutes for second, 30 minutes for third, and so on. And so that means that a sixth graders can have homework. They should not spend more than an hour on it. So that, if they are spending more than that, so when I taught fourth grade, they should be 40-minute homework. So I would talk to the parents and said, if your student is spending more than the 40 minutes or 50 minutes on this, any assignment I give, let me know. Because obviously I need to do something else to get this child to know more, to do some scaffolding with your child so that they won't take that much, to practice at home. Or it could be a reflection to yourself and say, so I been giving them too much work? So if I'm giving them too much work to finish, have I been overloading them when they were in the classroom that they didn't get done? So you also have to self-reflect and maybe move back and say, hey, I don't have to give them three different things. I can do one thing. I just want to know if they know this part, all that. So it's not like a punishment thing. Do not say, well, class, if you don't behave yourself, I'm going to give you homework. It should not be that way. It should be a reinforcement of what we have been learning, right? Although kids are gonna look at it like a punishment. They're like, oh, you're gonna give us homework. So how do your high school kids take homework, or do you have homework, Myrna? Do you give them homework?
Yes, Doc. I sometimes I give them homework, but it's only 5%. Because
Yeah,
if it
5%.
because if it is doable in the classroom, I let them do it. So I would really know that they're the ones doing it.
Yeah, I think you're right, because we do have parents that will do the whole thing for their kids, and that's sad but true. So you're essentially grading the parents, and if you have kids that do not have parent support or any other support, then you're not fair really to them, because they don't have the support while the others are getting all the support. So you have to think about that too when we do homework, right? So about what other things that are issues? Like how about talking, Myrna, in the science room? Do you have them like talk to each other like scientists would when they're trying to discover
Yeah,
something?
yes, we have the talk and tour, the turn and talk, and then they have the scientist circle.
Yeah, I love that. Scientist
Yes,
circle.
the scientist circle, they do their work, and then they try to check what is common to their work and what is something to improve.
Oh, nice. Very good. So it's like a more of a peer, yeah, assessment there.
Yes,
Well, in literacy world, we have a literature circle where they actually have, they have like roles that they play, and you may have a discussion leader, you may have, they have different roles that they play, and in that way you can get some discussion about the book. So in science, it's going to be different. So in math, you can do the same thing. You can have them have this little either partnership or little group thing, and you can call it, I don't know, math something, you call it creatively. And in that way, you have that conversation. And I think that's it. Discourse is one of the important things in that Common Core, that they have to be talking, because that's what real life experts do. That's what real life mathematicians do. It's your scientists do. So you have to have them talking. So it's a discourse. So mathematical discourse is what you have, and you have a literature discourse in the classroom of literacy. And so now you have your scientist discourse. Awesome. So that's good, Myrna. Sounds like you're really adapting there in Lee County, right? You have
What,
very good
Doc?
support, right? You have very good support
Uh,
there.
yes, so much from
Yeah,
that, Doc, from that.
yeah. So
Doc,
it's
we have to go now. I'm sorry for that because
yeah.
it's our schedule for the tax filing at 10
Okay.
o'clock.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
this one where you can get
Thank you so much
reimbursed,
for
right? You get
Doc.
reimbursed, right?
Yes, yes, Doc.
Yeah.
Yes, Doc.
Yeah. I think
Joel
J1
says
will.
one. Joel says one.
Yeah. Look at them in their car. Do you have an SUV or car? Is that SUV, right?
Is this SUV? Yeah, yes, Doc.
Yeah.
A small
Nice. I love
SUV. A
it.
small
That's
SUV.
That's really cool. I have been bragging about you guys there in that side of in the state, because all of them now have cars, and they started with, like, of course they were in Qatar, so they have their own cars there. But some in the Philippines that never even knew how to drive, and they come here and they learn how to drive, take their test, and now buy their own car. Because in Arkansas they start with $50,000. When you first come in Arkansas, you start with about 3 million pesos for the 9 months that you work. So it's a very big, you're a millionaire in Philippine peso once, in just that 9 months that you work. So, Debbie, what is the starting pay in California? Thank you, Myrna.
It depends upon which county. I've compared two counties
Okay.
here in Richmond and in Santa Clara County. It's for the Richmond, it's 70 to 100,
Whoa.
but
Okay.
the Santa Clara is 80 to 100.
Okay. So because the
But
standard of
the
living in
cost of
California
living,
is so high, like,
mm-hmm,
maybe three times the rent. If you have
I
500 here, maybe
know,
1,500 there, 1,005 there. So you have to also think about that, right? So even if it's 150 divided by three, that's really equivalent to about 50, because of the
right,
standard of
right,
living is so
right,
high, right?
right,
So many percent of your pay will go to housing, and housing
right.
is the most expensive part of it. So many
So you have
percent.
to really define your lifestyle.
That's
Really
right.
have to
Your
define
lifestyle.
and your priorities.
Yep, you're right. And so the beauty of Filipinos, though, is that we are not very picky. Like, we don't have to have expensive food. If you have like an Asian market, we
Mm-hmm.
can make,
Mm-hmm.
like daing, you can make, dried
Mm-hmm.
fish, you can make
Mm-hmm.
those really simple dishes. We don't have to have the
Mm-hmm.
steak and all these expensive things that,
Mm-hmm.
Americans like.
Mm-hmm.
But so we can actually save money. To me, I'm like, I eat cheap because I like the Filipino foods. I would buy the vegetables and I would put the olive oil, and I'll just season it with those little sarap, what, magic sarap, or the little bouillon thing, and I would just flavor it that way. So it's not like fattening. So it's something very simple, but it's really nutritious. And so my husband likes it where, those little bok choy, not bok choy, that little baby bok choy thing, that you cut,
Yeah.
yeah. And then he
Mm-hmm.
wants, yeah. So he thinks of it like more of a, like the lettuce, like the, where you put bacon and,
Mm-hmm.
like eating it that way. He likes it that way. And then I make cornbread. So cornbread is always a good thing to go with it. So of course we're gonna have, if you're married to American like Debbie and I are, then you have your American dishes, and then of course I have my Filipino dishes. So lately I've been having my brown rice. So I have my brown. So I would tell him, hey, you have this, but I also have brown rice. So feel free to get some if you want. So, oh no, thank you, because I usually have potatoes too for him or whatever. But yeah, you will. I'm finding that when you come here, the Filipino teachers, we are keeping our culture when it comes to food, because it's so hard. Now, I've been in America 38 years, you guys, but I am still looking at hamburgers as snacks in between my rice. I don't know if Debbie has transitioned that, but for a long time, I would say, yeah, I got my hamburgers, but this is like my snacks. Now, my real meal is actually my rice, but when we are traveling or something, I'm not like, I'm gonna have to bring my own rice because I get so gripey. I'm, what do you call it? I'm hangry, because I was like, oh, Texas, we don't have Chinese restaurants very often, but we have Mexican places everywhere, authentic, but their Spanish rice is like the reddish kind, and they don't, to me, that doesn't do a thing for me. It's like, I need my rice like Filipino way. And so sometimes I would do like, I have some dishes that we made, whatever, in a cooler. I think when we had the RV, of course, you have the refrigerator, there. And so I would bring the dishes that are made from home. And then now I need rice. So sometime I would just go by a restaurant and say, okay, I just need to order rice because I don't really want the other food. I just want my rice. But then I got smart and said, I'm gonna take my rice cooker because I can just cook rice. So I had my rice cooker and my little rice there, so I don't have to unload it. I'll just, anytime we go, we just, okay, it's already there. So yeah, because I think the food is really hard to just replace. Do you agree? It's just really hard to replace. So I really had better understanding of why my husband was looking for, like, let's see if we have pinto beans here. They don't have any. Let's see if we had any cornmeal here to make cornbread. They don't have any. So when we go there, we carry those things with us. So don't forget my cornmeal. We have to carry that so we can make cornbread there. Everything else is there, but the cornmeal is, we try to go to like the market and then have them to like really keep on getting it low, I mean, finer and finer in order for it to be like a, cornmeal, like the cornmeal for the cornbread. It did not work at all. We still need the Aunt Jemima things. So we started carrying them with us. That's part of our luggage. We put the things that he likes, the pinto beans and all that. So because he likes to cook that with the ham hocks, that's a very southern cooking. What's your favorite of your husband, Debbie? We're talking
My
about
husband is
culture.
Japanese Chinese, so
Oh, okay. So yeah.
yeah.
But do you
So,
do you
and
eat
it's
those?
my father-in-law who prepares because we're staying with my father-in-law,
Oh, nice.
with my parents-in-law
You're
because they're
spoiled.
both sick. That's why we relocated here from Thailand because they're sick.
Oh, so sorry. Well, that's nice.
It's
They're
okay,
lucky. They're
doctor.
lucky and blessed that they have you then. Um, I
Mhm.
started. I tasted Japanese peanuts last night. That's like they sell them at Mexican places, and it's like reddish peanut, and it's kind of spicy. I forgot. Anyway,
Oh.
something Japanese, something. Anyway, I really like it. So I'm gonna be looking for that
Mhm.
now. But yeah, talking about food, that's part of our culture. When you come to America as teachers, these are some things that you're gonna be adapting. So here there in the Philippines, when you go to McDonald's, there are rice there, just rice dishes. Not here. You only see bread. You always see burgers. You do not see any rice dishes at all in the McDonald's here. Not anywhere. In Hawaii, when we went, they have spam. They usually have something local. That's why in the Philippines, because we are a rice eating country, that we have the rice dishes. My stepson, my bonus son, Galen, and of course my husband was like so surprised, like, they have rice in McDonald's? I'm like, yeah, because we eat rice 3 times a day here. So when we go to Vegas, they have this place, Seafood City, and they have those seafood, Filipino, all Filipino things. I love that. Of course, I always order the halo-halo too. But anyway, that's like, oh my gosh, it's something we don't get every day. So my sisters and I were planning to go to Vegas soon, the three sisters. They're so crazy. They would eat there every single meal. But me, I'm like, that's too much trouble. I want to eat something in the restaurant because a restaurant in the hotel too have buffet, and they would have something that I could make, I could get the rice, but not them. They said we don't come, from one was Australia, and of course that Dallas, and then the one here when we were all together, all 4 of us, they all want to go to that every meal. To me, that's a waste of money because you have to ride a taxi to go there and back. I could just eat downstairs and be efficient. But yeah, I think that's something that some of you will struggle because if you don't have access to to an close to an Asian market, because in California they are everywhere, right? Like here, I have to drive 40 minutes, 45 minutes to go to the closest Asian market. And then in like where they are, it's about an hour, I think, in Memphis and Brinkley, they're closer to Memphis. Memphis has a bunch of little markets, but they have a big one there. But I think they came from Mexico. So a lot of their food, fruits are from Mexico, which is very similar to the Philippines. But guava is my favorite. But the Thai guava, the giant one, I love those. I'd buy 5 or 6 of them, and I would just like cut them, and like make it like a snack, crunchy snack. Yeah, I miss that. But Anyway, we got into food, we got into teaching. So what else do we have going?
Mr. Leo has been raising his
Okay, I'm
hand.
sorry, Mr. Leo. Go ahead, Leo. Thank you for coming back. Thank you again, Debbie. Um, Leo, what do you have anything to tell us?
Yeah, good evening back
Hi,
there in
good
the US.
evening. Yeah, nice back.
Yes, welcome back. I'm so happy to meet you once again, Dr.
Thank
Merlina,
you. Yeah.
around here. Enjoying listening to this conversation, and I'm enjoying listening to your nasal tongue and how you deliver your enunciation in English. That's why I'm learning a lot about how to speak in English because of you. And
Oh,
thank you so
thank
much.
you. You're doing
And I
good,
can
Leo. You're doing good. You look happier too from the last time. You look stressed the last time I think I saw you. And you look like relaxed today and look like, so that's good.
maybe I just my webinar in my master's degree. That's why I'm happy. I answered all my assignments. And
Yay.
maybe I'm that time about the situation that I
Yeah,
had.
stressed out. Yeah. Well, good job. Congratulations. I'm proud of you. That's so good. Yeah, it's always a good thing when we finish something, right? We accomplish something. The first time that I had written my name in like Dr. Merlina McCullough, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, So it's kind of nice to see that, like when you get your master's and you can put the AED on that. Yeah. So it's nice. So congratulations. What is yours? Master's, doctorate? What do you have? You said
I'm
master.
still agree, and
Master's.
hopefully I can it's because I'm enrolling in a school. It's very difficult to finish. That is
Mm-hmm.
UST, University of Science and Technology in the Southern Philippines. And
Okay.
I believe student drop out from the school because it's really totally different enrolling that
Mm,
university. But
yeah.
actually, I'm looking forward in the future because I believe I can use these credentials in the future, and
Yeah,
most
you
especially
can.
if
You sure can.
given given a
Yeah.
chance to teach in the United States. And so I'm so happy looking at you right here, talking a lot about what is the situation around what's happening in the US. But
Mm-hmm.
I guess I get some information from you guys and
Mm-hmm.
totally use this in my future endeavor.
Well,
Yes.
hey, Leo, I could totally see you to be here soon. You are very confident in your language, and so just show them that you know your content. Okay, you say your science, right? You said your science. What do you
I'm
teach?
not General
Science.
education, teaching all subjects. I'm
Okay,
general, yes.
general. Okay, but what grade? High school?
No, I am third grade level teacher.
Elementary. Okay, so that's the thing. I'm always telling everyone that high school seems to be faster at getting jobs here just because high school we have more elementary teachers graduating. So that they call it like elementary teachers like a dime a dozen. That's their joke about there's so many. But in high school, it's so hard to find high school math teachers, science teachers, special ed. Those are the things that if you go to www.schoolspring.com, you will see a lot of special ed there. And so if you're finishing your special ed, you've not, like you'll finish at the end of the school year, a lot of the visa sponsors will still consider that. Several visa sponsors would require a master's degree before they would even consider you. There might be a handful there that would not, but according to the immigration here, and that the one that I Googled, bachelor's degree plus 5 years of experience supposed to be considered a master's degree level, but it seems like the visa sponsors don't look at it that way. They really want to see that you have your master's degree, that you are currently working. You cannot apply when you are not working currently. So make sure that you are currently employed as a full-time teacher, not as an aide, not as a tutor, but a full-time teacher, because otherwise they won't give you the J1 visa or the H1B. So those are the two things that you really need to make sure that you have, right? So Leo, are you doing some work on applying things directly? Have you been applying at www.schoolspring.com?
Well, I saw your email from me. I am trying to access that website, but however, I am already in the JEC, the Global Educational
Oh, you're already
Consultancy.
on check. Okay. Well, he should be able to place you then. Is he charging you like what, $6,000, $5,000? A lot.
Yes, that's a lot. And
Mm,
I mean, I was last time, but probably looking for a bilingual teacher, and I am not. I couldn't speak other language than the Filipino or
mm-hmm,
English.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, I'm looking forward this year that they could call me back. And also I applied in the it's a manpower services in Metro Manila. And yes, and I have been interviewed also with a principal, and they are looking for someone like can work in a library, but I cannot work in library because I am a, classroom teacher. But however, they promised me to call me back this year. I'm just, looking forward to the positive side of my application.
Always do a
And
follow-up, Leo. If they promise you, have a follow-up. Always do an email. Yeah, it was so nice talking to you. I really appreciate it, whatever. And then, so just kind of catch up with them, okay? You need to give a follow because administrators are so busy. They're not gonna remember that. So make sure they promise and promise, but they may be meant to do it, but they forget because of how busy. We make decisions, about 500 decisions a day, administrators. So there's so many decisions they have to make. So if they promise you that, make sure that your job is to do follow up. Just like I tell everybody after you interview, you always send them a thank you, saying thank you for your time. I really appreciate, I really enjoyed our visit and all that. So they have that email in their inbox from you. So if they start deciding, oh yeah, this one might be a good one for us, so they just have to, they already have the email to just respond to you and say, hey, we want you. So it's kind of nice to see that gratefulness that you appreciate the time that they give you to interview you. And I think that to me, that's worth a lot when somebody would take the time to do that. Just like, in the past, still now you appreciate the handwritten things, when somebody does something to you in person, then you give them a handwritten thank you. My daughter Stephanie, she's so good at that. She would always give that little card, and she drew it herself, and she would write this really beautiful letter. And that's what she's always done. And I think she still does it. We would do something for her, and she would mail us this handwritten thank you, that I've kept every one of them. But anyway, so yeah, it's always a good thing to be grateful. So yeah, do that for your interview, okay? If you have not been doing that. So ask questions at the end, always about PDs, or maybe if they have international teachers already there, and maybe accommodation, if somebody could, of course I could help you with those things. You go to Zillow.com, Zillow.com, and you type the name of the place, and you can see the rental places. You have to remember, you cannot buy properties unless if you're J1. If you're H1B, you can buy properties here because it's so expensive. But you can look for apartments. You can go to apartments.com. Okay, so you can find those things here. You will see the prices too, and that way you can do your budget. Your budget would be, if the rent is 800, and then maybe your internet and your utilities, your electric and water, maybe another 200 or 250, and maybe your food will be 500. You can do your math, and then you can see how much you're going to be getting every month, so you know how much will be left. So to know the rent of each place, like California will be different than Arkansas, then you can kind of know how much money you'll have left. I guarantee you should be able to have it. Even if you, like, I know you paid Jack, which is really high, but you can get that paid within 3 or 4 months, from the pay that you're getting, especially if you work in a big town. I know Texas pays a lot more than Arkansas as well, but bigger cities, bigger load, lots more kids. Like in my area where I used to teach, to have 16 kids, that's a lot because we were getting 13, 14 kids or whatever. But the limit is usually 27, 30. I think 30 is the most. And then there's a limit of a total. So 30, and there's 5 classes, 150. So there's a 150 limit per teacher. So they're not going to give you more than 150 if you have different, changing classes. And that's in Arkansas. I do not know about the other states, but I just know that Arkansas has that limit. And if they have, like, one school had one over, two over, then they have to do a waiver. They have to, like, ask if it's okay to do this. Otherwise, they're going to have to, look at if there's some special ed here that might be served in a special ed classroom. That way we get their number. Because if they go over and they don't have a waiver or some kind of permission, they will get flagged. And getting flagged as a school or a district is not a good thing. So they are so afraid of getting flagged. So they want to make sure that you have your licensure, for example, your Praxis 3 and your Praxis test taken, because you have that year or two to get your praxis done. So if you're really serious about coming here, you might want to go to ets.org and go under praxis and look at the content that you're supposed to be taking. Elementary, you have an elementary test for 4 hours that will have the science, the math, the literacy, and the social studies, the four core, or you can have the individual test. I would say individual because that 4 hours is gonna be so much for you. But they would start with math. Math will be a safe one because math is math, right? But when you come to literacy, you're gonna have to be familiar with some of the literature, the works that you're gonna have to read and be familiar with because they may be asking you questions related to a text that you're supposed to have, to have known in that particular grade level. So I would be, thinking about that. Social studies, you're going to have to study up on the US history or the Arkansas or the state history. If it's Texas, Texas history. So you're going to have to, no, wait a minute. If it's ATS first praxis, it has to be either world history, or the US history. They're not going to be specific with your state. So because you can actually take this from home, guys. Okay, you can. I know my son took a test on the computer part. He did it here at home. They have some requirement, that you have to make sure that you have, so that it's safe and it's, your computer you can't go anywhere. You have to be just in that site. But ets.org would be a good one to visit for your praxis because some of the schools would actually ask you, do you have your praxis, passed? And so your answer to that is that I have my reciprocity. So you should already have your reciprocity, which means that you're going to visit Illinois Department of Education, for example. That's an easier one to get. Illinois, Maryland Department of Education, or New Mexico Department of Education. You just put them in quotation. That way you can see the whole thing. Once you get there, you go under licensure. And under licensure, look for reciprocity and then find out the different requirements that they have. A lot of time they would, or all the time, they would ask for FCE, your foreign credential evaluations. You need to have that done already. And then they're gonna want usually a background check. So they will tell you, what to do with that. But anyway, so usually I think maybe less than $100, you should be able to get your license. I think one of them was like $10, so it's not bad. But once you get that, that's something that you could mention in your interview that I already have a New Mexico license. All I have to do is do a reciprocity to your state. That means that they're going to accept another state's license. They will accept the Philippine license. We have reciprocity with the United States, that Philippines does. But the schools that are not used to hiring international teachers, they're so afraid of the reciprocity to another country, but they're not afraid when it comes to another state. So that's why the advantage of it is that I already have it. That makes them feel okay, that, okay, I don't have to dealing with another country. We only have to deal with another state. That's easy. So that's why, to me, you don't have to get all three of them, get one of them. Okay. So I think I want to say, I don't know if any of them would tell me which one was the easiest. Was it Illinois? I think they said Illinois might be Eillinois, Illinois, but that's a silent S. Illinois Department of Education, that might be the easiest way for you. That's where Chicago is. And so that might be the easiest way to apply. Just look at the requirement and compare. So, Debbie, do you have the requirement? Do you have do you have the California teaching license? Is that what you have?
I still don't have doctor because I'm still waiting for my employment
Oh,
authorization.
yeah, your EAD.
Yeah,
That's right. You
yeah,
can do
yeah.
anything without your EAD. Yeah.
Because mine is family based.
Yeah. Yeah. You can work
Yeah.
right now. You can do anything right now until you
I,
have
I
the
just
EAD.
volunteer in school, so
Yeah.
that's good
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. Because your husband is a citizen. So,
Citizen, yes,
yeah.
he
So
is.
if they come here as an H-1B, for example, if you have a school that would actually sponsor you as an H-1B, which means a path for citizenship, that's the best. But the disadvantage is that your spouse, your H-4, that's called H-4, J-2 is for the J-1. Your spouse, your H-4 spouse, would not be able to work at all until you are in the process of, or you have gotten your green card. So they are staying home and they cannot work. So H-1B, I mean, the J-1 visa, your spouse is J-2. Once they get their social security card and they get their EAD, after that they send it for EAD, their employment authorization document, then you can work. So the J2 folks can work, but the H4 folks cannot do it until the green card has been approved. So you have to think about that once you're thinking about, do I have double income or not double income? Okay. So a consideration for sure. Although some people would actually do like a side business, like a lot of the Filipino, they have restaurants, they have other things like that, and they would do, they would do like I don't know what they do, but under the table they call it, but you're not supposed to do that. But anyway, but they would like help each other, things like that. So there's some things you can do. If volunteer work would be an option, because you get your toes in, they got toes in, that they will not know you. So it opens doors for you because they know you already. So while they're looking for somebody to hire, they're gonna be looking for student teachers that's with them or volunteers. Sorry. I need to get coffee. But anyway, Debbie, I'm gonna let you do it. I'm gonna have to get coffee real quick, and then I'm letting you and Myrna and Glory Faye and John to talk about with the others, please.
Um, Maria Leonora, ma'am, can you share with us? Because I've seen you've been engaging in the chat room. It would be wonderful to hear from you, ma'am. Maria Leonora Benavides, ma'am, please. Yeah, good evening,
Hello,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Good evening. Dr. Merlina is still getting her coffee. If you would like to share about yourself or anything that you have learned from what Dr. Merlina and the rest of the group have shared.
Yeah,
Good evening.
most of the sharing that I've heard is common here in the situation here in the Philippines. But then I'm learning that there are some not common happening here in the Philippine setting inside the classroom. So I am eager to hear those experiences of those teachers teaching there in the US, and I'm kind of learning a lot of them.
Do you have friends here who are teaching already, or colleagues?
Yeah, actually I have. They are already 5 teachers who are teaching. The first one is in New Mexico. The second one is in Texas. The other one is in South or North Carolina. And yeah, I am I do encourage also to teach them there, and kind of a little bit afraid because I don't I kind of a bit afraid because I don't know how I'm going to live there.
Fear
And
can be
to
healthy as well, ma'am, because it allows you to challenge yourself and better yourself and know that you're gonna grow in it. And is there anything that you are very specific on the concerns that you have? For example, like in the
yeah, especially yeah, ma'am,
uh,
especially the what kind of students you're handling there. It kind of worry me because here in the Philippines it's very common to talk to the students because we are same Filipino. Unlike there when I go in the US, when I teach in the US, I'm kind of awkward to those students because I might be bullied because of my diction. I'm not I'm not good in sometimes, for example, we say here, okay, class, you may sit down or you may get your chair, and suddenly the students are getting their chair, so it's kind of a little bit a little bit not the
they're very
same.
submissive and
But
respectful. Yeah, is that what you're trying to say?
yes, ma'am.
But I think
And
with
aside from
what the rest of the other teachers, yeah, it's always part of the beginning, like when you get started in the teaching here. But also, as I have heard from those who are already here, there are a lot of support from the administration, from the district, and it's just good to collaborate with the teachers that are already example. If you will be already hired, it will be good to be asking help to improve yourself, and just have that teachability rather than consume yourself with creating more fears on your mind. Tell yourself that these are the
Yes.
realities, but I'm gonna rise above the challenges. But I'm seeing that you are determined. I don't know if Dr. Melina is already here. Oh, Dr. Melina,
Yes.
I still.
It,
Okay, what
it
else do
gives
you want
me
to share?
it gives me encouragement because my
Yeah.
close friends here, I'm teaching here in Los Baños National High School. They are my close friends, and they are telling their stories, and I'm kind of I what if they can, why can I? But then there is
Right.
something hindrance me that can I teach in the US? Can
Mm.
I teach for three? Can I survive for 1 year? So
You
I
will.
heard those stories, but then I don't know, mom. But I keep on joining those like
Yeah.
this
It's very
orientation for
helpful, and it will
to
give
learn.
you a better mindset that it is a
Yes,
reality
yes,
that there are so many things that we can get intimidated about, but there are also a lot of
yes,
things that we can be proactive. That instead of saying, oh, they
yes,
might bully me because of my diction, then maybe develop, your English skills, like being here, like right now, you're talking and you're engaging yourself, and then eventually you'll get comfortable. Yeah, and
yes.
don't
That's
operate
the
from
word,
fear.
mom.
Operate from all the
Yeah,
possibilities that you can better yourself. And
that's
and
the
when
word,
they
mom.
feel that you
Comfortable.
are genuine and sincere, they wouldn't mind your accent and your diction. They
Yes,
would see your heart. That's
yes,
just an
yes. As a
opinion. Now,
teacher.
I know your
Yeah,
friends, other people might have better ideas as well. Miss Pinky might
yes,
want to share. Miss Pinky, what is that you want to share? Thank you, Miss Maria. And just come in, be engaged
yeah.
in the conversation. Miss
Thank,
Pinky, do you want
thank
to
you
share
for this
anything?
conversation.
Hi, Miss Debbie. Hi, Miss
Hi, good
Maria.
evening, ma'am. Good
Hi.
evening, ma'am.
So,
Dr. Merlina
um,
is still getting her coffee, ma'am.
mhm, thank you. For this is for Miss Maria. If you are very worried about the attitude of the students here, it's very different. But if you are so worried about that, you may try to apply to Catholic schools. I
Yeah.
am now teaching in a Catholic school here in the United States, and
Mm-hmm.
I would say that the students here in St. Michael's is a lot, I would say they're a lot, they have similarities about their attitude there in the Philippines. So
Mm-hmm.
they're respectful, and then it's not it's not really that the same because some of them are
Yes.
really they talk back, but you will just need to handle them.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
because they are in a Catholic school,
You have
discipline
to
and also
behavior.
character is also taught in school. So
Mm-hmm.
if you are really
Mm-hmm.
worried about attitude, you may want to enroll in a Catholic school. But
Yeah.
uh, the cons there is that the salary is lower than that of the public school.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yep.
I see.
Yep. It is.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, it is lower. You're right. Pinky, you did it right. You did, yeah, you said it perfectly. It is very similar. When I went to New York and did an accreditation visit to a school in Brooklyn, that is like the Philippines. They are like so very compliant. They're so, they're not gonna misbehave. I mean, there's maybe one or two that try to misbehave, but it
Mm.
was handled quickly. But it's the opposite in the public school. You may have more that will try you. I mean, you can once you establish your rules and set your boundaries, it's gonna get there. But at
Yes.
first, you won't think that that's the way it is immediately. You have to establish that for
But
yourself.
I think
Yeah,
but I think I have to go out of my comfort zone so that
really.
I can be more. can be more challenging for me and to face those different challenges,
Okay.
especially if I have the privilege to teach there in the US.
Well, Maria, I think since you know yourself, you may want to listen to what Pinky Faith said, that try
Yes,
the private schools, because even though they're
yes. Thank you
lower,
for that advice.
huh? Yeah, they're
Thank
lower.
you for that advice.
Yeah, they're lower in pay, but it's gonna be smaller numbers of students as well. So it's not gonna be as stressful
Oh,
for you. So I noticed that
yeah.
the classes that what I observed in the international schools where I went to and did accreditation, they're all private. And so I saw that, and it's not as big a number. The one in Taguig, I did the one in Taguig, Manila. They actually had big numbers, but my God, they were so good. They were the millionaires in the area, their daughters and sons of millionaires. And they were so good. Even though there were maybe more than 20 in one room, they were still behaving themselves. Yeah. One day,
You know, Mom,
yeah. Go ahead, Maria.
I want to tell you a story. When my first year of teaching here in public school, I have a culture shock because way back when I taught in private for 3 years, I have only few students like 20, 25. But
Mm.
here in public school, my first year of teaching way back 2009, I have 75 students.
Oh my
Oh
God.
my God, how I can
Yeah.
handle the
You won't be
students.
given
But
that in
then
here. Yeah. Should be able to handle it then,
but
because
I
30
used
is
to,
a lot here. 30 is a
I
lot here.
used to, I used to. But then now we have this, after the pandemic, we have only 40 students because of the social distancing.
Right.
So I'm very happy because I can teach them, I can monitor them,
Gosh,
I
70, I
can
could
roam
just
around the
imagine.
classroom. Compared to the 75 students, I cannot move.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I
And
cannot
I
believe
always,
that. I do remember growing
yes,
up in the Philippines that in the elementary school that I went to, there were 3 or 4 people in one desk, body to body. There's no way you would have Americans do that. They wouldn't even do one other person. They have their individual desk here. Every person's got their own desk. So, so
I
most,
always even
yeah.
say,
Um,
class, listen, listen.
Oh yeah, you can't be just no, you can't be. You have to have other strategies. Don't just so listen. What I do is when I do it, I'm like, okay, guys, this is how I get your attention. All I do, and just I'll get to you in a minute. Um, I would raise my hand. Let's practice this. When I raise my hand, that means I want you to be quiet. So you need to raise your hand back. And then if you
Okay.
see your neighbors not raising their hand, you need to tap them and tell them, let's practice this. And so we would practice this. And then I would say, okay, so good. And then that way, from then on, I'll just practice where they get noisy. I'm like, or if
Hmm.
it's an elementary and you get so crazy and you just say,
Okay.
freeze, everybody will have to freeze. Like, okay, let me give my directions. And then when you get done with your direction, you say, okay, throw out. So you can do it in high school.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, you have to come up with some strategies like that to get their attention.
Yes.
Without just saying,
Yes.
listen, listen. Oh my God, that's weak. Maria, that's considered weak. If you said, listen, listen, oh, you're like begging them. No, that's not gonna work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yes.
good,
It's
good.
not working it's not working anymore.
In this day and age, for sure, I think, yeah, good point.
Yes.
Yeah, I
And
think you
I'm learning.
Yeah. So
Mm,
you know yourself, which is good because now you know, okay, this is my limitation, this is what I can handle. So maybe I'm really
yes.
gonna push on looking for private schools, like Pinky Face said.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
Pinky, how did you find your school, Pinky? Do you remember? Did you apply at schoolspring.com? Where did you go?
I found the school at Indeed.com.
Indy. What is it?
Indeed.
Indeed.
Oh, Indeed. Okay, you go to
Yes.
Indeed.com. That's right.
Yeah.
Indeed.com. And they would push, yeah, they would always do those thing for the private. I've not even seen any private schools on the schoolspring.com. It's all public school. I didn't see private schools at all. So yeah, Indeed would be a good place. LinkedIn might be another one, but I think Indeed would be a good source. Pinky, how come you're not turning your camera on? Are you not ready to show your pretty face on?
No, no.
Thank you, Mom
I
Pinky,
just
for the
finished
advice.
cooking in
I
the
know, I
kitchen.
got you. I have moments like that. Like, you know what? I should not. I'm just like in my pajamas. I need to talk to him. But for me, I really have to show myself. But of course, I'm not gonna force too. But yeah, pink is so pretty though. That's what I wanted to say her face. But anyhow, um,
Mhm.
so Maria, thank you again. Is there any other questions that you have? Have you practiced your interview with me? Like, can you introduce yourself in 2 minutes? Or if you're not ready, it's
No,
okay.
this is the first time. No, this is the first time I talk to you, Doc.
Okay, so go ahead and talk to me. Tell me about your name, your what your degree was, what your jobs had been or now, and then you're teaching philosophy, and then maybe finish it up with why do you want to come to Arkansas or to the States to teach? So just
So,
professional, no personal. Okay, and just talk to me.
yeah.
Do not be reading, do not do anything. Just talk to me. Okay,
Okay, but I'm a little bit shy.
you're good. I promise.
Okay.
Safe place.
Okay, I am Maria Leonora Marquez Benavides. I'm from the Philippines. So I graduated Bachelor of Secondary, major in English. Uh, I took my Master's of Degree, Master of Arts teaching in English. So I've been teaching for 19 years, 4 years in private school and 15 years now in public school. So I handled grade 10 in my first year of teaching, and my second year of teaching, I handled grade 9, and then in my fifth and up to now year, I handled grade 7 and grade 8. Grade 7, I taught Philippine literature, and in grade 8, I taught Afro-Asian literature. Mm,
Okay. So you might want
First
to
in my
do,
class,
hang on, Maria, you might just do like I have taught from fifth grade or from this grade to through this grade. You have to say first year, second year, that's too much. Just say I have taught this particular grade from this one through this one. Okay, just do it that way.
okay,
That way. Yeah.
okay,
And
Doc.
because
I have,
English and because it's an Asian related thing that you did in English, you don't have to mention that part because it's not something you can teach here. So you don't have to mention.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, because they might just say things like, well, we can't really hire her because all that she knows is a Philippine related things, you know. So
Okay,
since you taught other things that are American related, you may want to not like
okay.
yourself in offense, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Doc.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
have taught grade 5, grade 6, 7, and 8 students.
Okay.
In my classroom management, I see to it first thing first. I check the attendance of my students. If there are students who are cutting classes in my subject, then I do my classroom routine, prayer, and then talk to them. How are you today? Saying what makes you smile today? Oh, can you still remember our lesson, our past lesson? So that's how I started my conversation with my students.
Okay, so
And then
Maria, you're not going to put that in your introduction because that's going to be part of their questions. They're going to be asking you those. And don't mention prayers at all because remember, there's a separation of church and state. You do not do prayers at
okay,
all here. So I would not put those because they will ask you a question in that. How does your classroom look like? How do you start it? They're going to ask you that. So all you have to do in your introduction is what you just did, your degree, what grades you have taught, and maybe now you can talk about like what do you believe about teaching, and then why do you want to come to Arkansas? I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just want to remind you.
I see.
Yeah,
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Doc. Thank
no
you.
problem, no
It's
problem.
it's nice. It's nice to correct me because I'm willing to learn a lot.
You have growth mindset. That's
Okay,
good to know. Yeah, go ahead.
okay. So I'd like to teach in US for me to learn professional growth, to share my cultures these students, and to learn about their cultures, and also have to have a to have a financial freedom.
Okay.
That's why. And
Yeah. So you can say, do not just put state, you should put the US. So you say, I wanted to teach in the US because I really like the intercultural exchange where I learn from the students and they learn from me. And then
okay.
it doesn't hurt that the pay, the financial, the pay is 10 times what we're earning now. They're surprised about that you are making 5,000 and you're starting at 50,000. So, so
Is
you
it
can put it
okay?
at the end, huh?
Is it okay, Doc, if I say if I am to have financial freedom? Is it okay to say that
I,
in
I
my
would I would
interview?
I would skip it myself, but it's your choice. I would skip it myself just because
Okay.
that's a given. One is gonna be there, but it's really they're really interested in your heart. Use your heart in the right place where you're thinking about students and student learning and student impact. So when you're being interviewed, I want you to consider that. I want you to think about what can I say so that they know that my heart is in the right place with my students. That it's all about the
Oh,
kids. That's what you need to do because I know as
okay.
teachers, as humans, as adults, we're going to think about our financial responsibilities. That's a given. But that's not
Okay.
something that's a topic that is important enough for you to discuss during a teaching interview to the US. Okay? Because that's going
Okay.
to happen. That's already set in stone. They have a schedule of pay that's going to be
Okay.
paid, depending on your degree and your experience. So that's not something you even worry about. But talk about what you can do, or what you can learn, and what you can teach. That's what's the most important, I think. But that's a Merlina thing. That's just that's something that I believe that I said this is more important for me. I have experienced so many interviews already because I would apply on things and then because I see it as a good practice opportunity for me. And I've also spoken at universities where I would actually have a mock interviews with teachers that are about to graduate as teachers, the pre-service teachers. And so I would see that as an opportunity to like, I love you, what you said about professional growth. I really think that, I will grow professionally and personally. So I would have professional growth, and that's a good thing to say. So awesome job. Okay. And I think you should not have any problems with fluency. I don't know why you think you're shy. You're an English major after all, girl. Yeah, you're an English
Yeah,
major. You're
ma'am.
supposed to be able to like, just talk to us, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're just humble. But
I don't know. I sort of mental blank.
no, don't do that. Just you have a really successful interview when you're just visiting with each other. Like you're not really like awkward. You're not really like, like you feel bad about it. You just like relax and talk to me and talk to the person interviewing you. Once you
Okay.
have accomplished that, you have a good interview because then you're able to open up yourself to like, okay, what are some examples I can give? What are some things I can share? Like, you started to share about how you do the things that you do in your classroom. Those are things you could use as examples during the interview because always go back
Okay.
to like, okay, what does this look like in my classroom? So if they ask you of a parent, for example, well, how do you handle a child, that do not have much support at home? How do you handle that? And so you need to think about, okay, I remember that relates to my student John. And I think, so that question relates, that reminds me of my student John. This is what happened. And so your answer is very personalized. Like it has to be a Maria's answer, not just an any generic person answer. Okay,
Okay.
so that takes you to the next level because you are given your personal example. And so if you're gonna just do a generic example, that's very vague. Okay, so make it your own.
Oh,
Yeah, make it your own. And I think that would be my advice to everyone that just make it yours. Okay, so here's the answer they give to me. Now it's mine to give examples for. Okay. All right, so then
okay.
the last question they say is before they would start the formal questioning is they would say, I mean, after they put the questioning, they would say, okay, you have any question for us? So what would you say?
So I will ask the questions about their school. So
Okay,
how are they
ask
going?
it for me. Ask it to me. I'm pretending that I'm the one asking you. So Miss Maria, do you have any question for us?
Yes, I would like to know about your school. If you have, how many students are you? How many students in the classroom? And
Okay.
how many teachers, faculty do you have in your school? Do you have extracurricular activity? Do you have clubs?
Okay. Well, those things are actually answerable if you study their websites. Okay. So remember, I told you when you get an interview, the first thing you need to do is look at their websites. Okay. So I want you to look at the website of the school, and they're going to tell you what kind of clubs they have. It's going to be published there. It might not tell you the number of kids in the school, but you'll have an idea by looking at how big the district is. Like you can Google their town. If you Google their town, you know the population, and that gives you an idea. Like for example, Salem only has 1,500 people in our town small, and then the student population is about half that. So we have about 800 in our school, 400 in elementary, 400 in high school. So you can kind of think of it that way. You Google the town, and then Google the school, and then that will give you an idea of the population and also their diversity, ethnic diversity. Because you can see on their website the pictures that they show of students. You can see they usually represent the population of the school. So you see a lot of African Americans there. That might be majority that. Or you can see a lot of Caucasian white kids there, then that might be the majority that, or Asian, whatever. So in California, for example, they're loaded with Asian kids. Do you agree, Debbie? Right? Yeah.
Yes, doctor, and the ones I volunteer are mostly Caucasians as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But
Maria,
there were, yeah,
yeah. So
Asians.
Maria, your question, make sure that you ask them question that you cannot find the answer in their website, okay? Questions
Okay.
about like how they do discipline is going to be there. Look for their student handbook or parent handbook or teacher handbook. It's going to be published there. Read it. And it will tell you everything
Okay.
about their school. So that if you ask a question that's not there, they know you must have already, you have already read about the other things. Because if a person would ask me things that, oh, that's in our website, why does she not know that? Did she not study did she not look at our website? So how you let them know that you looked is that you can answer using their mission or vision, some keywords from there. And he said, you say things like, it kind of aligns to your vision or to your mission, and then you say keywords in there, and in that way they know, oh my gosh, this candidate actually look at our mission and vision. I mean, they will really be pleasantly surprised. So that's what I would another key that hint that I would give you is look it up and then study their mission and vision. It's very similar, usually about improving kids or whatever, but quote them. Use some of their keywords there. Just like, align to what you believe about kids learning, like you said, on your vision or your mission, and say it. And that's like, that kind of be, that's a mouth opening thing. That's like, good, this is a good candidate. She did her homework. He did his homework. So that's what I would react if somebody would do that and talk about my mission and vision for our school. So you're gonna be good as in. Like, okay, she knows her stuff now. Yeah. So they could kind of see you to be like, okay, she could belong to us. She could belong with us. Okay. All right. So I love that you dress
Yeah.
so professionally. I love your background, that it's simple and it's not busy. And I love that you used solid color, not really busy outfit. So it's always a good thing to do that. So yeah, you always need to look professionally as if you're going to an actual interview. Okay, you're going to church. So do that. Do not just give them what you wear, like a duster or something like that you would at home, because that would be something. And put makeup on, because they would see that you did put an effort. That it is worth
Yes.
your time to do an effort. I always try to put lipstick on, try to do, of course, it's gone by the time I get done. But anyway, but do that because then it shows that you care, that you really, yeah, you are presentable, you are professional, and so on. Because that's what kind of the first judgment they have is how you kind of look or how you talk, right? So always follow it up
Yeah.
with examples. Okay. So how would you handle kids? I'm going to put you in a spot here. How would you handle kids who do not like to work, do not want to do homework, do not want to do anything? They just come in there and they don't do their work. How do you handle that? We call them unmotivated kids. How do you handle unmotivated kids?
Yes, I will call up his attention. I will talk to him or her secret talk to her or him just the
Private.
two of us
Okay.
in private.
Mhm.
Yes. And I I will talk to him that why what is bothering him or her, why he or she is not doing well in this activity. So is there something wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And then after that I will give him a compromise, or going to have a compromise that if he will do this, if he will do his task on time, uh, I will uh, if he will do his task on time, uh, I'll check his work and I will communicate with his parents or her parents that he's doing well in school.
I would
And
brag.
if not,
Okay.
if
Mhm.
if not, I will I will ask the help of the counselor or my co-teachers on how to deal the students, the problem of these students.
Okay. Okay, very good. I like that answer. You need to use the word root cause because really that's what you're doing. So I need to find out the
Yeah.
root cause of it. Because I know my students well, I would know if this student normally would work well and then all of a sudden he did not work well. So I know something is wrong. So that's when I would find out the root cause. So when I get the answer from the students, then I need to make sure that I could get the help that he might need. Don't do the compromise thing. You sound like you're bribing him. So just say, I will try to help solve the root cause and help him. If it's
Yes.
something that I can do myself, I'll do it. Sometimes if it takes a professional help, like a counselor or the psychologist or whatever from the school, then that's what he's going to get from me because I always want my students to meet their needs, their individual needs. And
Yes.
so I would know because of my knowledge of students, I would know that this is not a normal thing for him. So yeah.
Yes.
So, but you kind of pretty much answered it that way. Just remember to use the word root cause and I love that you involve the parents. So you have your answer has to say that. I said, of course, I will also communicate with parents because I believe that parents are our partners in education. So my partners
Yeah.
had to know. So I have to let them know what's going on, what can they do? This is what's going on at school. Is this something that they observe at home as well? So maybe we could
Yes.
compare notes and maybe help each other and see how we could meet the needs. So they might
Yeah.
know something. It might be a school thing, it might be a home thing, but because you're communicating, you can figure these things together. Okay, so you actually
Yes.
did. Let's see if you did the five core propositions there. You did knowledge of students, so you know he's not doing as good as what he normally does. Knowledge of content, you know that he should be able to do this, but why is he not? What's the knowledge of content not
Yes.
there? Now you were able to assess. You're assessing him like, oh, not good, not where he's supposed to be. And then you reflected, okay, so what can I do with this kid? And then you also collaborated. You said you were going to use, the counselors and parents. Those are your sources, your collaborative pieces, your collaboration, sources. So you did all five. Awesome job. Okay, so when you answer a question, do the checklist in your head. What do I know about the student? What do I know? How can I connect it to learning, the content? And how do I assess it? How do I know what he needs? And then reflect. Okay, so now I'm going to think about who can help him. And then who are the collaboration pieces? What are the collaboration sources that I could use? So you did awesome on that question. Okay, when I can check off everyone and then you are doing a good job. Okay, so but the only piece that maybe make it stronger is have an example. Okay, so just remind me of you can make it up too because they're not gonna check. This reminds me of my child Jennifer. She has this problem, and this is how I solve it. And now, no, 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 and this is what happened. So this was the cost, and this is the effect, and this is the result. So you have actually a specific example that you tied that question to. So always do that. So
Yes.
when you have done your five core propositions, then tie it to specific student. It might be a student that you saw on TV, something that you can say, okay, this reminds me of whatever. But it's still, the point is you made an example and you made it specific. And that's why my favorite phrase is specific is terrific. So you're always going to be doing terrific if you're being specific, right? So yeah, I think you'll do so well on those interviews, so you don't worry about it. Okay, so I want you to
Yeah.
visit www.schoolspring.com, and if they need like zip code or whatever, you can look at mine and use it, just to get in. But then and you can apply and read their description. Okay, so make sure it is a
Okay.
full-time position. You cannot do a part-time because you're not gonna
Yes.
pay one sponsor is not gonna let you do that. So it has to be a full-time teaching position. You cannot do a paraprofessional or an aid job. It has to be a teaching job.
Okay.
Okay, so just
So I'd
look.
like to join.
Yeah, you can filter them.
Sorry, ma'am. I'd like to join for your next meeting, ma'am.
Yeah,
For your
anytime. We
next
have it
Zoom.
every other week. So next Saturday we're gonna skip on the 15th,
Yeah,
and then we're gonna come back on the 22nd. So it's always like that. We
because I
skip
want
a
to
week and then
learn.
go to the
I
next week.
want to learn more.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, go to our YouTube videos. If you have not been, you can Google my
Yeah.
name or ITSA, ITSA, and you can see all our videos. This is video 92. So you can actually go back to the other videos. So yeah, we have done
Yeah.
this 92 times. So yeah. So thank you so much,
Ma'am,
Maria.
I have this.
Thank you.
Oh, thank
Giselle,
you,
I've not
ma'am.
heard from you, Giselle. You are here, but I
Thank
don't
you.
know. Did you know this, Giselle? Uh if who was it? Um the other folks that are usually here, that's not here. Who else do you see that should be here? Mike,
Um,
for example. Mike.
Ma'am Frana is not here because she has classes, doc. She has classes with her masters in SPED,
Mm,
and I think she end up at 7 o'clock, and she said she's very tired, and she has classes early in the morning
oh,
tomorrow,
poor
so
thing.
she's not here.
Marlene is the same
Yeah.
boat, I think. Marlene is doing her special ed.
Yeah, I think they're classmates. I do also have the special ed doc, but I do the modular one. So I really have to read and listen to the videos. But
Yeah,
I'm not as moody as they are. Yes,
yeah,
doc. So yeah, I raised my hand a while ago, doc, because I would just like to give some insights on Mama Maria on her hesitance on applying for the US. And I would like also to share my experience
yeah. Go ahead.
um yeah in applying there. So hi Mama Maria. I guess this is for you and for those teachers who are hesitant to apply in the US. Me at first is I was very hesitant because when I joined the Zoom meeting that was September 2003,
Yeah,
my
yeah, it's
twin daughter
23.
is only
23,
6 months
right?
old. 2022, no,
Okay.
yeah. My twin daughter was only 3 months old, and I'm very hesitant because they're too young to be left behind. And like what you said, the difference of the culture is also difficult. So what I did is here are some tips on you so that you'll be able to overcome the fear and the hesitance of applying. So number one, I have wrote this doc.
Oh, good job. Good for you.
Number one is
Thank
first
you.
is to search for the school, the area, the location of where you are teaching. As for me and some of the regular members here in ITSA, we would always ask Dr. Melina like, Doc, I'm applying, how's this place? And Dr. Melina would answer, if you are going to ask my husband, this place is not good. Or yeah, it's good. So that Dr. Merlina would always answer us about the place in the school. So you have to first, yes, look for the location of the school. Then read and join groups. Filipino teacher groups. There you can read the experiences of teachers where you can be ready.
Yeah.
You would really read bad and good experiences. The bad ones will be a warning for you, and the good ones will be an inspiration to you.
Yeah,
Then
but that's a good
let's
advice.
see.
Do you have a specific group that you would recommend? What's a
I
specific?
have the I forgot the members of the West Memphis Thursday is a member of this group. I think it's a Filipino group also. I think Filipino International Group, something like that though.
So with
But
teachers, yeah. Okay.
yeah, and also attend the Zoom regularly because you would see experiences from the teachers. Dr. Medlina would ask the teachers who are already there in the US to share the experiences. So you've got to, though you are not there, you can imagine their experiences. And again, no, the experiences, how they overcame those experiences would be really an inspiration for you to move forward and to um, apply.
Yeah.
And the last one is, as we Filipinos, we would always pray.
Yeah.
So I have read and I have heard this one of a teacher that says, pray for the location, pray for the people, and everything there. So you have to pray everything because if that's for you, God will definitely give it to you.
Yeah,
So for me, yeah, For me, I was once hired at, I was one of the West Memphis 13, but unfortunately, things does not go the way we wanted it to be. But yes, we are still applying. I had already 4 interviews, but
Good.
unluckily, I don't have it. But this time, still we are applying for the
You-
next school year.
You're getting so
So
good.
apply lang ng apply.
Yeah. So Giselle, you have gotten your confidence. Used to, I can tell with your face that you were so shy, and now you have the confidence. Giselle does a good job with the interview. You said what one time, one or two interviews that I was actually in there helping the interview. So anyway, so I really am so proud of Giselle on how she answers the questions because I can tell that she used some of her knowledge from the Zoom group, some Zoom info that you have used specifically. So it kind of made me beam, like, yay, good for you, Giselle. And I love the notes that you shared right now, so a while ago. So those are things that are great things to do, to do some reading and getting to know the places. That's very big. And yes, I would know some of the schools that I might not want to recommend you going, especially if you're the only one. I always recommend to the administrators, try to hire at least two. That way they have at least each other. You have somebody to room with, you're going to share the apartment with or the house with, instead of you alone in the world. It's kind of lonely. There's nobody that maybe look like you, and then you're alone and you don't know anybody. So at least if you have somebody already built in that's already hired and you share the same experiences, that would make your experience a lot better. And I think the other folks that have already here, they could say the same thing, that they have Pinky. Pinky, do you have a roommate? Do you have anybody, other Filipinos that were with you in the start?
Yes, Doc.
Yeah.
We are renting a two-bedroom apartment.
Yeah. And so that
So
helps
there's
a
three
lot,
of
right?
us here.
That's like an automatic support, right? A built-in support for you.
Yes,
Feel that? Yeah. So good.
yes. And we are so fortunate also for our admin, Doc. They are very supportive as
Yeah.
well.
You can see that based on how, that your conversation with them. If they act so caring, like, okay, what can we do to help, whatever, you can kind of tell. And I always say, the eyes are the windows of the soul. If they look so kindly to you, that means, oh, they're going to be supporter of you. But if they look like, like kind of like a grimace, or, some negative connotation, negative reaction, I would be watchful. I always try
Yes,
to
Doc.
read actions, because 70% of our language are actually nonverbal. So you actually would need to read a body language of things. And having been in the US for 38 years, I really pay attention to those that were, immigrant friendly and not immigrant friendly. And I avoid those that are looking at me like with hate, because I don't want them to be hurting me. Because there were some stories now that people get hurt just because of how they look. At least it's not happening in Arkansas, but it happened in bigger states. So I would always read people's eyes, looking at me, and I don't know them. Why are they looking at me that way? When I don't know them, they should not have a reason to dislike me, because I don't, they don't have any interaction with me. Why are they acting that way? So I would always have that look, anywhere I go, I would always like look at their faces and really kind of read their mind, that way based on their reaction. So while you are being interviewed, you're actually also interviewing them, really. You're also going to be looking at them, talking about prayers, God, I will do my best. Please do the rest. Because if you really feel comfortable, they made you feel comfortable in the interview, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel, oh, they're cheering me on. They're like encouraging me. Instead of like you look at the reaction and somebody will be looking like, oh, so the negative reaction, that also discourages you. But so if that happens, and there's some people that are positive, look in that direction. And so another one is that write their names down and their title. So for example, they say, oh, Miss Smith, principal, Dr. whatever, superintendent. You need to write this down so that when you refer to them and you answer them, you need to answer it, to the appropriate audience. So for example, if a principal is asking you, they're asking about things that will be happening in the building level. Well, if a district person, like a superintendent, will be asking you, they're looking at the big picture, all the whole campus. So it's good to always, just like when we do in communication, when we write, we think of our audience. Same thing with the oral language. We have to think of our audience. So it's very important to you to write down who you're talking to. Okay, because sometimes it might be an HR or human resource person. They're the ones that really just need to get things checked. Like, okay, I've hired this one, I've hired this one, I've hired this one. So they might not be, sometimes they might not be education related folks too. So your answer could be generic, but of course, the rest would be educators. So you have to, that's why you have to make examples. Okay, so those are some things. The bigger the committee is, they have 10, 12 people, the bigger that school is. Okay, because they're not gonna, if you have a small school, they have one teacher there or something, but some of them, they just do it in administration only, no teachers. So in one of the schools that I work in, they were so collaborative that when we were hiring a superintendent, we had like a interview with the principals, interview with the assistant principals, interview with the teachers, interview with the classified staff, your janitors and all this. So they have all these levels of tiers of people to interview. The poor superintendent candidate had to deal with all these groups. We were scheduled to come in, at certain time. And so you have those folks that might be that they have 2 or 3 different levels of interviews. And there might be some that they're doing that because they want to include you in the pool of teachers that they could just, try to call immediately because they have already pre-screened you. Okay, so you might be pre-screened. So if you see the one on the application that says for a pool, that means that you're not necessarily being hired yet. Maybe they're expecting to have a few, and then you will be in that pool. That means they've already, kind of checked you out already. It's good to be in that pool, but do not get your hopes up so high yet, because that might not be happening yet if they just use the word pool of applicants. Okay, so they just put you in that list. So, any other question? I've not heard from Maricel, and is that Mona Lisa? Because I don't have my glasses. So anyway, well, thank you so much, Giselle, for your input, and of course, Maria, for your question, and Debbie for your examples. So Maricel or Vivian, did you want to talk to us? You're still up, and Mona Lisa, you're still up. Talk to us, please.
Yeah, earlier actually, it's a good heads up because like in our culture in the Philippines, one thing that you've talked about that was raised by one of the participants was that it is okay to mention that I've been earning this. And so I'm hoping that when I move to the United States, somehow I'll earn more. I was always thinking that because in our culture, it's a no-no to talk about
Yeah.
salary.
Yeah, but that's why you really, because we're still Filipinos after all. So, but then, yeah, that's why I'm saying stick with the student learning part. But if they really want to ask about it, answer it. We are paying 10 times here. You can just do a percentage, 8 to 10 times what is being paid in the Philippines is what we're paying here. So, for example, if you're paid $5,000 a year there, we're paying 50. So that's 10 times. So some states will be over to 10 times. So of course it depends on the standard of living. Arkansas is one of the lowest standard of living. That means we have the lowest rent in all the 50 states. So yeah, so we are getting now people from Florida, people from New York, California moving here because of the housing's cheap. They can buy houses. Like when the former house that I had, that I was in there for 33 years, a friend of mine that was in San Francisco came in and stayed with us. She said, Marlena, this house in San Francisco would be $1 million. A million, maybe $1.5 million. And I said, but then it's only worth like less than 400,000. So it's like, yeah, so it's a lot, like 4 times, 3 times, so it's a big difference in the housing.
Dr. Merlina, is that okay to mention, like, if they would ask why Arkansas, is that okay to still mention that the cost of living is actually one of my considerations?
Yeah, it's okay to do that, but you also want to say that because I really like working in the country, like in the rural setting versus the urban setting. I really like this. It reminds me of the provinces in the Philippines where the life is so quiet and peaceful and close to nature, things like that. You kind of bring out what's the natural, because Arkansas is called the natural state. So we have all kinds of nature things here. Okay, we have caves, we have parks, we have all kinds of parks and all that. So I would say that, that that you wanted to try to avoid the money part, try to get other things, like you wanted to learn here, and you also know that there's a lot of Filipinos here now coming in. Like in one part of Arkansas, there's like 50 of them, in just that one area. So you want to be a part of that community, the professional learning community of Filipinos learning from each other. So you can say that, or you can, the rural versus urban setting is a good example. And you are, you like nature. That's another one. Okay. But yeah, and then if you have to put financial, put at the end. Okay. No, it doesn't hurt that Arkansas also has one of the cheapest rents in the 50 states, is what I was told. You can put it at the end, but the other things, put them first. That's what I would say. Okay. Yeah. And you can
Thank
mention me a lot of times if you are do dealing in Arkansas. A lot of times they know me. The other day I was
Oh,
at school and they said, so I've never met the principal, but we've been communicating. So I shook my hand and said, okay, I'm Merlina, Dr. McCullough, and all this. I'm the consultant, whatever is coming here. And she said, I know you. And I said, oh, I don't know you. How do I know? I said, I saw you on TV. And I'm like, oh, okay. So when I work at the Department of Education, we actually had training that was televised. And then we would have all the school has to have administrators watch. So I have done so many of that. So they have, and I'm the only Filipino. So of course I stuck out. So yeah. So I said, oh, thank you. I'm so glad that you got to see some of our PDs. So anyway, so it kind of have a start of that conversation, see. And so you starting saying something about the provinces and how it's country and peaceful life and slow life, whatever, and that's what you like, that will also resonate with them. Saying, oh, that's good, So I'm like sometimes my husband would say I'm a city slicker because some of the things that I have that our province, like, I would not know. It's like, oh, farm stuff. I don't know about farm stuff, because like when I first got here, I was like, I want to see a farm. I want to see the milk being the cows being milked. I want to see those things, actual farm things, like horses, how you ride horses, some cowboy things, And so I did all that because those are things that, although we are in the Philippines and it's supposed to be like a tropical and kind of more country, but we live in a city. I'm from Mandaue, which is one of the bigger cities next, Lapu-Lapu and all that. So it's a bigger city. It's not like my mom was born in Karkar. And so she was, out in the South. But then we grew up there. I was only 3-4 years old when I moved to the city. So yeah, that's why he called me city slicker, because I don't really know much about country, but I do now. 38 years later, I do now. Yeah, so good question. Hey, by the way, you are very, Mona Lisa, you are very fluent. You could almost be a native. Are you did you say you are an English major?
Yes po.
Oh, it's
I
obvious.
just happened to, I believe I developed my speaking because for a year I worked with the call center in the
That
Philippines,
helps a
Baguio
lot.
City. So somehow, yeah, the
Yep.
training actually helped me a lot.
Yeah, you
And
fluency. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, because you start talking to Americans the whole time, or other countries, right? So yeah, and I know
yes.
that's so impressive when I call Holiday Inn or other companies and the Filipinos would answer. I know the accent a little bit, but I'm so impressed about the fluency. Like that could be your native tongue because it's very fluent, and that's always make me like, yay, my peeps. Do you know that we have actually, the Philippines had actually replaced India as the #1 outsourcing place for IT, the IT park stuff, the call centers? We have replaced India as the #1. So now Philippines #1. So that's why when you go there, and that was really a good surprise for me, that you see these IT park cities that are alive at night because you're working at night and you're sleeping during the day, right? Because of the opposite, yeah, time zone. Yeah.
Actually, our client, because I worked with AT&T, so
Uh-huh.
our client's
That's
actually
my
based
company.
in Texas. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was your time? What was your time of work?
Philippine time, it would start from 9 p.m., 8 to 9 p.m. until morning, 9 a.m. And
See?
it would be split shift, would mean there would be 4 hour rest in between.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's why you can hang out there with those all those things outside, because you got a lot
And
of.
our bosses, our managers are usually Americans. Our account is the biggest account because it's a technical account. So our bosses would roam around and would be chatting with us. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. AT&T. I like AT&T. I've always used AT&T for for my long distance from also for my mobile phone. So my sister has done Verizon, and she keeps on trying to get me to go to Verizon, but AT&T does 25% discount for teachers, and I think she said Verizon does it too. But anyway, but I said, well, I don't want to have to go through all the trouble. So yeah, so I stayed with AT&T. It's a good company, right? Both of them actually are good. So maybe if they watch it here, like they will sponsor us or something. I'm kidding. So you have so how did you say a year? You worked there for a year?
Yes, then after that, I actually I don't know. Maybe it's really a matter of practice.
Yeah.
I keep using it, and then after that, I taught in the ESL field. So somehow I am forced to speak English because my clients are Japanese, Chinese, Koreans,
Okay.
and there is no way I would speak Filipino with
Right,
them.
right.
Yeah.
But when you go do your interview, they will comment on it. They said, "Wow, you speak like a native." They're gonna say that because that's what I'm saying. Because you're very fluent, and that's a good thing. Because the number one thing they always say to me, Marlena, send me teachers that are fluent in English because I do not want them to have problems being understood by the students. Because students would say, "Oh, I got an F in that class because I don't even understand the teacher." They would use it. Okay. And parents would use it. So you want to be fluent. You want to be to be comprehensible. So you should not have any problems, Mona Lisa. So if you get your first interview, so all you have to do now is go to schoolspring.com and try to get those interviews because I think you will get in really quick.
I hope, God willing, Dr. Merlin,
Have you sent me
I
your,
will mention your name
thank you.
definitely.
Have you sent me your resume and cover letter? It's
Yes,
McCullough.
and I did a little repair, if you called it that. I
Yeah.
did a revision
Okay.
with you gave me a suggestion with my resume because there were no names for references, so
Oh,
I
that's a
just
big one.
referees. Yes,
Yeah.
then I'll send it back to you. Hopefully,
Thank you. Yeah.
God willing.
So Mona
Thank
Lisa,
you very
that's a good
much.
one. Yeah, but that's a big one for the resume. Thank you for reminding me because I was going to remind everyone that when you look at your resume, if you do not have the references on the bottom of it with the three, try to do two administrators or supervisors and one colleague. If you do not have their email is more important than phone, but put their phone number and their email. If you don't have that, you would not ever get an interview. It doesn't matter how good your resume is because they're not going to go to that extra effort to say, okay, let's find out how to contact this person. No, they're going to look at the references and they're going to send them a survey about you. So you need to also tell your references to like be checking their emails because they usually do it like certain few days and then they start doing the interviews. So without the surveys being sent to at least 3 people, you're not going to get onto the interview level. So you're wasting your time essentially. So make sure that you do put the references. And I've been saying that usually pictures are optional, but for international teachers, I really want you to show them what you look like. Because 1,000, it's 1,000 words. They know that this might be a good fit. Look at how this person smiled and friendly and all that. They can see it and they could immediately, it will be on your advantage, I think. But in America, we don't ever say put your picture in. We always just make it anonymous. But for international teachers, it seems like they're getting more interviews if they put their picture in. So I would recommend that strongly to do that. And of course the resume. And if you have not done your like awards things or maybe three PDs that have really impacted your teaching, those are some things that you could also include. You don't put a list of 50 things that you have attended. No, I don't want that. I want the two or three things that really impacted your teaching. For example, if you have attended a PD on classroom strategies or whatever, teach like a champion, things like that, that really helped you kind of shape you as a teacher. Those are the things that you want to put in there, not just a one-time thing. A one-time PD that really did not get used is not going to be a good thing just to list down. It has to be something that you actually learned something and applied it to you with your students and you saw the results. So those are some things worth mentioning in your resume. Okay. And if you have any extracurriculars things that you do, are you a coach at basketball or I'm sorry, volleyball or chess or anything like that, put it there. Okay. Or if you played the sport and wanting to like assist and then maybe later become a coach, you can put it there too. Because that will give you an extra point that, oh, we can use this. And for English teachers, you can do, if you have done your yearbook things or any publishing stuff, that would help you. Okay, because it's so funny. Most schools would have like those yearbook, right? And they always put the new teachers on yearbook because it seemed like they like it the first year, and then later on, like, oh, give it to the new kid, the new teacher. So don't be surprised if you're a new English teacher that they will dump the yearbook job to you, because that's something that, like, oh yeah. But if you like that, though, that's not a dumping thing. It's like, oh, a good thing. But I would like it because they are so organized already. They already know what to do. Like, you'll have kids there that would be in charge of the photography. They already have everything set up. Okay, so yeah, you're already pretty much kind of facilitating because it has been set up for years. Okay, so you can just ask, okay, what do you usually do here, whatever, and then go from there, and then you can tweak things that did not work. But yeah, so it's not that challenging just because it's already been established. But if it is something brand new, that might be more challenging because you still have to establish everything, from students getting sponsorship in the community. That's a hard thing. But if it's already been established, you'll have businesses that always would give you money every year already. But if you've never done it, then you have to be the start of begging for money to help you with the sponsorship. But they're for sale for like 25 to 30 bucks each book, because they're like hard copies, hardcover, and then the pictures are all color. So it's expensive to print. Yeah. So parents have to shed, 25, 30 bucks for those. And then a lot of time they also offer, like, for $5, you can put your name on it. Like my kids would have their names on their book, on the cover. So anyway, yeah. So those are some things that English teachers might, they will ask you, will you be willing to be a journalism sponsor or whatever?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, yes, that'll be good. That's my favorite. My husband's over there messing with the radio. Hang on. Okay, he forgot I'm on Zoom. But anyway, so yeah, any questions for me then, Mona Lisa? I love your name, by the way. It makes me think of the Mona Lisa, you know. What's that? Who's the Da Vinci? Yeah. Da
Yes,
Vinci's
yes.
Mona Lisa. Do you get that a lot? Or were you named after
Yeah.
that? After that?
I
Were you
don't know. It's actually not my mom who named me that. That's why I use Monette
Monette?
as,
Okay.
as the name that I'm fond of, because it's my mom who gave me the name Monette. However, Mona Lisa was given to me by my aunt. Yeah, the
Nice.
elder sister. She
Okay,
was
well,
given
that's
the right to do
nice.
that.
Yeah, are you close to that? Are you close to her?
Yeah, she actually, because I almost died when I was a baby after my mom gave birth to me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, then because my mom is very active, my mom and my dad are very active. She
Mm-hmm.
was pregnant then again, so I need somebody who will need to take
Take
care
care
of
of you,
me.
yeah. So she did
And
that.
so,
She's your second
yeah,
mom then. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you might, I don't know if you watch my other videos before, I mentioned this before, that there was actually a Harvard study of names. Okay, and they found out that the one syllable names for men, John, Mark, all that, are, if you look at the president's, US president's names are mostly like one syllable. So they found out that the one syllable men names were more successful than the one with multi syllables. And then on the women is three or more syllables. So Mona Lisa, you got four. Boom, you should be successful. So my kids' names, yeah, my kids' names are Stephanie, three, and then Jet. Because I've seen this, I've heard of the study before I named it. But anyway, so Monette is gonna take away your luck. Mona Lisa would be.
Then I'll stick with Mona Lisa until I get there. I hope I will.
Yeah, that's funny. But I think your Mona Lisa has a Z, so instead of an S, right? Yeah, yeah. So she's creative. So I'm supposed Merlina is supposed to be after some soap opera person. That's what I'm named after. Yeah, I don't know what it was, but dad always liked those. So name as Juvilita, Juvie from Australia, Juvilita, Jaime, Carmela, Merlina, Armando. Emilita, like 46 of us with multiple syllables for women. And then Jaime does two, Armando is three, but yeah. So they're not as successful. Funny. They should have been called one syllable. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, so yeah, I'm not that superstitious, but it doesn't hurt, right? It doesn't hurt. Yeah, he always, Dwayne would give me a hard time because HD, I call him HD or Dwayne. So Dwayne would give me a hard time because she said, yeah, you're not superstitious, but then you don't want to plan while you're eating because you always believe that if you plan while you're eating actively, that the plan is not going to happen. It's going to change or it's going to be canceled. It happens every time. I said, so that we would be eating and I would say, so you're going tomorrow? To like, nope, we're not talking about that right now. Let's finish eating. We'll talk about it after we eat. I mean, so things like that. I really, that's a big thing was they give me a hard time for it. They said, yeah, Ellen, they call me Ellen in the family. So Ellen's gonna
Filipino, I think.
right.
Being Filipino.
Yeah, not gonna let you plan, whatever. So yeah, that's one thing. And also handing the bread, like any bread product, especially bread, handing it straight to that person instead of a plate or a napkin. Then you're supposed to be like a beggar, like you're gonna be depending on someone for for support. I don't want that. So I'm like, put it in a plate for me. Or put it right there. But do not hand it to me straight. Those little things like that. Or the cat thing. The cat black thing, I swear. Every time they would cross, 2 times it already happened lately. I was going in bingo. That's the only socialization I have in Salem, right? Friday night bingo. And so a bunch of old folks, but there's some people about my age too, or younger, but black cat, same place, crossed my path. I said, should I just go back? So I went, did not win a thing. Happened again second time. So if it happened again, I'm going back. I'm not continuing. And I wish my neighbor would put away that black cat, but it's on my path. So, so yeah, those little things like that, I guess maybe another one was like a broken mirror. I don't like the broken mirror thing either. And then, putting your plates together. And this is still cultural things that we're talking about, by the way, because these are not in the US. These are so different. That's why my husband jokes about it with me. If you put your plate together, like you double them up, 2 or 3, whatever, and they said you're supposed to have a boyfriend or you're going to have some kind of betrayal. That's why my exchange student from Germany, Justin, he said, I shared that with him and he got another place. Oh, he doubled it up 4 times because he wanted those many girlfriends. But anyway, but yeah, I don't double up either. Those are some things that I guess because you can take the car away from yourself, because my mom always, mom lives 5 minutes away and mom's always sharing these things with me. And actually recording my mom, she's in her 80s now. So I'm actually recording her stories because later on she may forget. So I've actually recorded her telling some narratives about her childhood and all that. I'm doing the same with Dwayne, HD. So when we were going somewhere, I'm like, tell me about your childhood. And, I would videotape him and all this, I would record it. And then now I have all these videos of snippets of videos of little things that they remember from childhood. I need to do that for myself too, because I'm catching myself forgetting things. And I'm only 57. So yeah, telling on myself. Yeah. So anyway, all right. So I think it's about late. I mean, we already have been going here for about 4 hours. So I really do appreciate, and we're taking, a lot of people are asking permission to go. So yeah, we had some really meaty conversations again. So thank you so much, Mona Lisa. You help a lot. Leah, Pinky, Faith, Debbie, Giselle, and John earlier. And who else, Debbie, did I not mention? Some people that mentioned.
Leo, Mr.
Leo
Leo,
did that too.
Glorifa, and
Glory
Miss
Faye, yeah.
Marlene.
Yeah, lots of them that that already said good.
Yeah.
But I miss Mike, so I hope Mike knows that we have not abandoned him. He's Debbie's helping him, saving him. But I do miss having Mike. Mike's always my my helper, my co-host. But thank you, Debbie, for really a great help for me. I appreciate it. And Giselle, I love those tips. Okay. All right. So I hope that you do have a great week coming up. I have a busy week, but you are making a difference in the lives of kids. So be happy about that, because you are, your impact might not be showing now, but later on you realize when the kids, like was mentioned earlier, would come to you and say, I learned this from you. So yeah. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And so I'll
Thank you.
2 weeks. Okay.
Take
Thank you, Dr.
care.
Marlena. Thank you, Ma'am
Thank you,
Debbie.
Doc.
Well,
Bye
Thank
thank
you,
you,
bye.
thank
everyone.
you.
Okay,
Thank
bye
you, doctor.
Bye.
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 Have a
Bye
good
bye.
week.